Sharper than a switchblade, first and last of what God made, and that's the truth. But man, keep on trying to hold me back while another chicken head come on to use. Too strong, try to do me wrong, and the last one standing will order and command you to dance. Oh, dance.
Run tell your preacher and your teacher, I'ma give what you love.
Welcome to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and it is Tuesday, July 21st, 24 hours away from the birthday of my firstborn son, who will be 28 tomorrow. Had a great conversation with him today, and you know, he works for a Fortune 500 company, and he called me this morning. He says, Mom, it's kind of difficult when I am working with a group of people who give me all these projects to do. I'm doing the projects, and then they just keep piling on me. So he said, I just wrote them a really nice note this morning and let them know, no can do. You all are going to have to get yourselves together. There are people on my team that are not doing any work, and he said, I will not be the black slave. And so I love the fact that he was able to write them in a way where he was concise, let them know exactly where he was coming from, and that this wasn't a griping session. This was a matter of fact, and this is what I'm not going to do. I was like, you go, boy. I told him I was proud of him, and then, you know, we'll figure it out. But that was so good. So anyway, I only have a little bit of time today, and wanted to see what was going on with the encampment down at the Art Museum. And so there was an article written by the Inquirer that Philadelphia postpones clearing out of Parkway homeless encampment. In a nearly last-minute decision that caught much of the city by surprise, Philadelphia officials postponed the closure of this homeless encampment on the Benjamin Franklin Parkway that had been scheduled for last Friday. Talks between the city and the organizers for the 5-week-old encampment of 100 to 150 people had broken down last week, but were revived after Mayor Jim Kenney jump-started the process within the last 2 days. Kenney said Thursday that the shuttering of the encampment was halted because he has a responsibility to attempt to mediate the impasse himself. He'll hold private talks early next week with organizers who helped to create the tent village on a ball field at North 22nd Street. I'd feel better to get directly involved, Kenney said. I'm going to personally talk to them. He said that the encampment organizers' motives are sincere. They want to see people housed. And so today, on my way down to the radio station, I drove by that encampment and to see exactly what was going on for myself. Because, you know, I don't like to report on things without really knowing, you know, firsthand what I can see, if I can see it. So I stopped Thor, that's what I call my car. I stopped my car and asked a couple of the gentlemen what was going on, and they said, in light of what's been happening around the country with COVID-19, with you know, the the recession, they have all been homeless and really trying to find housing, and they're just sick. They got sick and tired of laying under bridges, laying in the streets, laying in the train stations, particularly suburban train station, and they wanted to have their voices heard. And so they started an encampment. They had big signs up there that says Black Lives Matter. What I saw were mostly men. I could not stay there long because I had to get in here to the radio station, and Lord knows if this thing pops up and you don't see my face, it's going to be a problem. So I wanted to make you guys aware that I did see that that encampment out there on 22nd Street, on North 22nd Street. There are a good amount of people. I saw a few women, but I saw mostly men. They were having lunch. It's very, very hot out there. I'm not quite sure how are they staying hydrated in all of this heat, but there's a lot of tents, not as many as I thought that I would have seen, but people are out there trying to get their voices heard. Let me see. It says here, so Kenny says that he'll also meet with the organizers of the PHA encampment next week. He acknowledged that using police officers to clear the encampment would be a last resort, but he said that if encampment residents who were first asked to vacate refuse to leave, the city may have to remove people. The city has described the encampment as part of a protest by organizers and residents to secure housing for those in need. Organizers have also linked the formation of the encampment to the Black Lives Matter movement, which is what I saw when I went out there. That hybrid arrangement has confounded advocates of the Philadelphia homeless, who said they had never seen an encampment so tied to a political cause before. Kenny said that the encampment underscores racial inequities and that his administration shares the belief that policy failures for generations have brought us to this point. Something's going on with Mayor Kenny because he is starting to make some statements that I can absolutely agree with. City officials at the postponement affords additional time for outreach teams and service providers to engage individuals experiencing homelessness at the encampment. So hopefully they will be able to find some sort of housing for these folks. I mean, it's you know, for those of us who have to get out of our beds, can get out of a warm bed or a cool bed every morning and have electricity and water, running water, we take for granted that we have these affordabilities which some people just don't have, you know, until you're laying under a bridge or laying out in the street somewhere or laying over a grate near a subway station, and you will not understand what it is like to be absolutely homeless. And so, you know, I'm glad to see that something is going to come from this. Let's see. I got an email today from the Inquirer.com, which is something I wanted to talk about before we have to go to break. Pennsylvania top prosecutor, which is Josh Shapiro, is reviewing allegations of racism by police in a rural Montgomery County. It is written by Vinnie Vella. The Pennsylvania Attorney General's office is examining allegations of racism by police in a rural Montgomery County township. The inquiry stems from a complaint filed last year by a former New Hanover Township police officer who described a racist and toxic work environment in the department. Keith Hughes filed the complaint after finding an egg roll in his personal belongings when he retired. He said he interpreted that as a slight against his wife, Sandy, who is Korean American. Hughes also said Police Chief Kevin McKeon and another senior officer at the department regularly used racial slurs, including the N-word. If cops do this to other cops, I can only imagine what is happening to the general public, Hughes told the Inquirer last month. After concerns expressed by the Pottstown branch of the NAACP and U.S. Representative Madeline Dean, State Attorney General Josh Shapiro launched an inquiry, a spokesperson for his office said Monday. The Attorney General is committed to making the changes we need to root out systemic racism and build community trust in law enforcement, Jacqueline Rhodes, Shapiro's spokesperson, said in a statement. The township's Board of Supervisors hired an attorney to investigate the allegations in 2019. Late last month, officials said the inquiry could not substantiate most of them, which is what I thought would end up happening. However, the lawyer, John Gonzalez, did find evidence that township employees had made sporadic, inappropriate racial comments in years past, according to Township supervisors. The supervisors have declined to identify which employees made the comments, but promised to address the conduct with sensitivity training. Okay, so let me be really clear to those of you who now think, because until all of this started to happen, all of this unrest started to happen across the country in the middle of this COVID outbreak, lots and lots of police stations and lots of school districts had no interest, zero interest in doing sensitivity training. Sensitivity training is not something that you do as a check mark to say, see, we did something, will you now please go away? What we're really asking you to do, sensitivity training, is really just the backdrop, the beginning stages of what do we do and how do we change policies and procedures to make sure that these sorts of things don't happen again. I have been having conversations with a lot of police officers over the years. It's been about 2 decades. And the ones that are African American, let me be really clear with you, the African American ones almost hate being in their jobs. They are targeted a lot of the times. They hear and see certain things. They're working with partners who don't want to be with them, and that's across police departments everywhere, right? And so we pretend as if these things are not happening. But it's even worse when it's a police chief. We have to be incredibly mindful that the leadership, and I'm not saying that the allegations that are made here by this police chief was substantiated. What I am saying to you is I have seen it happen more than enough times for me to know that this is not an isolated incident in one police department. So while I am absolutely thrilled that the state attorney general is looking into what's happening at New Hanover Township, I would suggest that people now start to really open their mouths and speak up on what's going on in their police departments. There's a lot of fear there. They want to talk about it, but they're afraid of what will come out of it. And so we really want to have change. And I talked about this morning on my social media pages. Racism is rooted in denial. Right? It's rooted in denial and self-interest. And when you are looking at policies and procedures that help you and don't help the people that you're supposed to be serving, and then you deny that it is rooted in racial division so that certain people don't get what they need, then we have a problem in this country. Racism is not people who are ignorant. People think that it's the ignorance who are doing it. Nope. The people who are ignorant don't really, they're facing all sorts of issues too and not really aware of it because they're just following what they're being told. The people who are creating policies are well learned, sitting in some of the top levels of government and industry, and they're the ones who are creating the policies. The liberal people who will tell you that they have black friends, and they do. They have plenty of black friends, right? But those black friends don't correlate to what they're doing when they're creating policies and procedures that's going to serve their self-interest and create a chasm for lots of people. So that is where I am with all of this. I just got the book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, by the young man, and I got Ibram. And just learning that he's in his late 30s, a phenomenal young fella who was diagnosed with stage 3 or stage 4 colon cancer and thought he was going to die, so he just wrote the book anyway, right? But everybody and their mama right now, that is the new word, How to Be an Anti-Racist, and everybody and their mama have ordered this book. You know what that tells me? That you all are looking for something to clutch on to make this go away. It will not go away. You literally have to start at your boards at your organizations, your board at your school districts, and you have to say, what are we doing here that is really creating issues? When we see people on social media having conversations about, well, yes, in our school district, we want to put black children in the upper classes, but they're going to struggle too much. You see them talk, like the denial and the self-interest comes to the forefront. And so please understand that we see you and that we're not going away. And while the racial protests have died down quite a bit in some places, does not mean that the work doesn't continue, right? There are people who are now creating their demands, their list of demands. How are we going to get these demands? Are we going to run for office? Who are we talking to? What committees are we sitting on? That's how we continue to get changes to happen. I'm going to come back and talk about Portland. Let me take these phone calls. Bree from Germantown. Bree, are you there?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, madam. How can I help you?
Good. I just like to talk about the encampment on the Ben Franklin Parkway.
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to see, and it just broke my heart, I happened to see a news clip. BBC, I think it's connected with WHYY,
mm-hmm.
and the broadcaster interviewed one of the leaders. It was an African-American man.
Mm-hmm.
And they discussed that Philadelphia has like that 5,000 vacant, boarded-up properties that they're, instead of like helping the homeless, they're selling them to developers to make money. That's one of the problems that they talked about. And they also mentioned that one of the top leaders under Jim Kinney, I forgot his name, but I have the entire clip, stepped down or resigned within the last couple of weeks.
That was Abernathy.
Yeah, because he was giving the homeless money. He was in charge of something with the homeless. He was giving that to the police instead or something like that. And they came up with a lot of legitimate problems that could have been solved to help some of the homeless people in Philadelphia, but instead they're doing everything else. And it really just broke my heart, and I think we need to pay attention, and I just wanted to bring that up today. And I feel very sad for the people down there. I hope something happens.
Yeah, Bree, my goal is to go back down there and have a more in-depth conversation with some of the people there. I was on my way to work here at WRD, but heard about it yesterday in a meeting and wanted to see for myself. And it is heartbreaking, right? What I would like us to do is to stay out of the judgment zone. Oh, my God, it's just so awful and da-da-da-da-da. And really understand why those people are out there. When we get into our warm beds at night and we don't pay attention to the fact that there are people struggling, that's entitlement and privileges that we don't take into account when we make these judgments and assumptions about people. So, Bree, I want to thank you for calling in and weighing in on that, okay?
Thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome. You're quite welcome. Gary from Southwest, are you there?
Yes, how are you doing, Andrea?
I'm good, sir. How can I help you?
I'm good. First of all, I just want to say I enjoyed seeing the pictures from the wedding.
Oh,
You were very beautiful that day. Not that you aren't every day, but I just want to give you that compliment.
thank you, Gary.
You're quite welcome. You know, I was well, I'm retired now, and I used to work in the center city, and I had a lot of homeless friends in center city. And when I say friends, they were friends to me because when I would go to lunch a lot of times, and I would develop a relationship with them, and I would speak with them, and they would tell me how they became homeless, and I almost had tears in my eyes because I said, it's by the grace of God, that could have been me.
Yep.
All it took was a few circumstances to make you homeless. I talked to a gentleman one day, and he was an electrical engineer at one time, and he told me how he went through these things with his job. He lost his job. He had issues in his family. And you could tell by the way he spoke. He was very articulate. And he was homeless. I'm looking at this gentleman, and I'm going like, wow. I said, Gary, you're extremely blessed.
Yep.
But I would go out, and I would ask them, did they want anything for lunch or breakfast, and I would get it for them, and it wasn't a lot. I wish I could do more. They would thank me so much. It made me feel bad.
Yeah, because, Gary, you saw them. Gary, you saw them and you treated them like human beings. You didn't look past them. You didn't just throw a couple of dollars in their hands and kept on going. You literally acknowledged and saw them. And that is why they were so grateful to you, you know?
I want to say this. One guy, we would walk by. I would walk by, and I would just wave at him high, and he would wave at me. He was sitting in front of me near the Wawa from Comcast. And one day I stopped at him, and I said, excuse me. I said, brother, I have to apologize. I said, you always speak to me, and I wave and speak back to you. I said, I've never asked you your name. So when I told him my name, he told me his name, and after that we laughed about it. But he was so even encouraging to me because I was telling him some of the things I was going through in the workplace, in my professional position, and he was encouraging me.
Yep.
And, you know, Andrew, I said, wow.
Yep.
So I really have a heart for our homeless people because it's just not right and it's not fair. And there's a lot of things that's going on with that money. As you know, I used to work in that field auditing that money. A lot of things going on in this. It's not going to our people. We should not have the title as the poorest big city in the
Absolutely.
country.
Self-interest and denial, Gary.
Schools and everything else. And we have to hold. That's why it's important to vote. I've never missed a vote, Andrew, since I was 18 years old. I come from the South, and I know what my parents went through and my uncles and what they had to deal with. So I've never missed a vote. But along with the voting, we have to hold people accountable. We can't keep making people celebrities and taking photo ops.
Come on, Gary. Gary, listen to me. Don't you have me starting doing the hallelujah dance up in here, okay? I've had that conversation 1,000 times, young man. I kept saying to people, stop with making the public officials celebrities. Make them accountable. Go follow them, see what they're doing. And when they get an attitude when you don't agree with them on something, they don't need to be in leadership, right? Because I sit here in this chair every single Tuesday and Thursday. I take it responsibly. I do my research. I ask questions. When I am wrong, I say I am wrong. I, listen to the WRD listeners, make sure that I'm following protocol, all of that. This is not about me being a celebrity, sitting in front of a microphone. This is about me engaging our community, right? Finding the solutions to the problems and the issues that we're having and elevating the goodness that is here. That's what leadership is. Not about, let me just get my whole stuff together. Gary, I got to go, man, because I got to go to break. But keep calling, okay? And thank you for what you have done for the people that you've encountered. All right. This show started off hot. We have no air conditioning in here, and Marva is, oh, Lord help me. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Legal information, black history, hip-hop, and much more. It's the Radio Courtroom with attorney Michael Cord every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. right here on WURD 96.1 FM and 900 AM. Streaming live at wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app. Solutions on Word. Hosted by Dwayne Royster and Amadi Braxton. Solutions on Word. Exploring solutions to national, state, and local issues through the lens of race and gender. Solutions on Word. Fridays 5 p.m. till 7 p.m. exclusively on Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Solutions is sponsored by Power Interfaith Movement, working towards life, liberty, and democracy for all.
Warning. If you're drowning in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt, you have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Associates now. 1-800-965-5269. We'll even show you how much money you could save. If you can't afford to pay off all your debt, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to. Call Credit Associates for free information on how to get debt-free faster than you ever thought possible, without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We depend on your success and offer a guarantee, so there's no risk to call. For free information, call now. 1-800-965-5269. That's 1-800-965-5269. 1-800-965-5269.
Show some love for your favorite neighborhood with Word Radio. It's the Summer of Freedom Virtual Neighborhood Love Tour. Mondays and Thursdays now through August 20th from 1 p.m. till 2:30 p.m. Shining a light on Philadelphia's neighborhoods with a focus on neighborhood history, Philadelphia's freedom fighters, and community resources that are helping to shape the city's future. Mondays with the rapping professor Dr. Aaron Smith, and Thursdays with Andrea Lawful Sanders. It's the Summer of Freedom Virtual Neighborhood Love Tour. Mondays and Thursdays 1 p.m. till 2:30 p.m. exclusively on Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on wordradio.com, the Word Radio app, and on Word TV via YouTube and Facebook. The Summer of Freedom Virtual Neighborhood Love Tour is sponsored by Wells Fargo and Pico.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and I am your host on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. The virtual Summer of Love tour, neighborhood tour that started last week has so made my day. I can't thank you all enough. We have Cobbs Creek coming up on Thursday, and so if you are a Cobbs Creek resident and you would like to call in, you have from 1 o'clock to 2:30 on Thursday afternoon to call us and tell us everything about the history of Cobbs Creek, you know, the famous people that live there, what people would not know about Cobbs Creek, and on and on and on. I really want you to lift up your neighborhood and tell me where your challenges are and the great things too, right? Why would anyone want to live in that neighborhood? It took me a while to realize that Philadelphia was a city of neighborhoods, that you couldn't just say, I live in Philadelphia. You have to say, I live in North, or I live in Southwest, or I live in Northeast. It's so interesting, but I'm truly enjoying it, so I can't thank you all enough. Before I take my next guest from Germantown High School, not Germantown, I'm sorry, Martin Luther King High School. If you are having any interest in having a conversation about Martin Luther King High School, please call in the next 2 segments. But before we take these 3 guests, who I can't wait to talk to, let me talk to Tyrone. I think you better call Tyrone. Calling. Where are you, Tyrone?
Hello, Mother Earth. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I am wonderful, Mother Earth. You know, there's one thing that you could say about this world.
Mm-hmm.
God is good.
Yes.
I don't care what we're going through, how we're going through it.
Mm-hmm.
God is still good, because if you look at the stars in the skies,
mm-hmm.
the beauty, even though it's 90 whatever,
mm-hmm.
look at the beauty.
Yes.
But you know, Mother, I'm calling about first. Let me say much love and respect to you, and I appreciate my WURD family,
mm-hmm.
and I want to give, peace and blessings to all the progressive folks across the globe.
Yes, sir.
But, Mother, I got the call to talk about this president who's talking about sending federal police into all the black cities. Because what he said, and every city that he named, is where we are.
Yes.
And one of the things that he said, and I don't see how anybody can disrespect the mayors,
mm-hmm.
the senators, the Congress people, the state reps, state senators. He disrespected every political representative in all those cities when he said that they have a problem and don't know how to deal with it. So I'm coming in to show them how to deal with it.
But Tyrone, but Tyrone, let me say this to you, because I have to tell you, and I say this as people are now clucking their tongues and wanting to know how could this person do this. He showed us who he was. At the very beginning, he did not shuck and jive. He did not sugarcoat anything. He didn't make anything up. And so why are we shocked now? The thing is to figure out how to get people out to vote, right? To create changes in November. And not just him, but the senators. We have senators that need to get out of office. We have Congress people that need to get out of office. We have mayors that need to get out of office. We have governors. Like, we need to look at our individual states and see, based on what's happening now in the country, those who responded to make sure we were safe and have viable options to live versus those who were playing politics with our lives, right? And so, Tyrone, look, the Philadelphia District Attorney already filed something, and I'll read about that later, where he was like, "No, you're not coming here to do that to our people in Philadelphia. We're not doing it." So there are folks who are now taking steps, actionable steps, to stop him from having the federal government come in. I mean, if they come in, they're going to file charges. So thank God that we have a constitution that's set up so that one person can't become a complete megalomaniac and take over the country. Because can you imagine if he had way more power than he does now? He has to go through a Congress and a Senate. Can you imagine, Tyrone?
Yes, can you imagine? So like you said, I want to give a shout out to our DA, because one of the things that he said he don't care who they are.
Mm-hmm.
If they do anything unlawful,
yep,
he's locking them up.
Yep, yep.
And you know what? If our political leadership don't take a stance like that, they're going to be in trouble.
Oh, yes.
There is no way that not only did he say it, and then the man in charge of the Homeland Security said he don't care what the governors and the senators and the Congress people say. If we want to come in, we can come in and do what we want to do. No, you can't.
Yeah.
And where in the world do these folks who is in this administration think that they can do what they want to do? No, you can't. Thank you, Mother.
Oh, you are quite welcome, Tyrone. That's because they got back at you, as we say in Jamaica. Talk to you, though. Thank you for calling, hon. All right. Tyrone calls me Mother Earth. That might be my new license plate. What do you think, Mr. Sanders? I know he's listening. All right. So right now we have Angela Crawford, who is a teacher at Martin Luther King High School, Samia Sawyer and Shane Carter, who are rising seniors at Martin Luther King High School. Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good afternoon.
Hi. Oh, look, someone says MLK alumni here waiting to dial in. Yes, I'm excited. So let me start with Angela Crawford. I had, and I'm sure you heard me talking about this, right? That a gentleman reached out to me after listening to us on WRD, and said he didn't know much about Martin Luther King High School. How long have you taught there, and what can you tell us about Martin Luther King High School?
Okay, well, you started off in the introduction at Germantown. So when Germantown closed, I was there when it closed. I came over to Martin Luther King.
So you were at Germantown?
Yes.
Ah.
And then when that whole transfer happened, I was one of the teachers that came from Germantown over to King, as well as our students transitioned over to King High School. So I've been there for 7 years now. Yes.
7 years. And what has it been like for you at Martin? Because we hear all kinds of stories about Martin Luther King High School. And quite frankly, a lot of it is not wonderful, right? It's a beautiful structure, pass it all the time. I know you well, Angela, because I know your children. So, you know, tell us what you want people to know about Martin Luther King High School that they would not ordinarily know.
I think, let me start with saying that I know that Martin Luther King had like a reputation like back in the day for being one of those negative schools. And my alumni comes on, she will actually can talk more about that because she was actually there. But I want to say that Martin Luther King, what people don't know, that we have some amazing kids who don't get highlighted.
Yes.
Some amazing kids who don't get the resources and opportunities that they need. So when I came in 2017, it was under the leadership of William Wade. I interviewed amongst the leadership team and pretty much was hired on the spot. Walking in the door, our population was much greater than as it is now. We were also a Promise Academy at that time, and if you know, most people kind of know that, like, that Promise Academy offered a little bit more money to the school, had teachers stay an hour later, for, you know, for more professional development and things of that nature. And then when they ran out of funding for
the Promise Academy,
we went to we still was called the Promise Academy Martin Luther King High School, but then we became a turnaround school. And if anybody knows anything like the school district, they changed names and acronyms like, you know, like to change the day. So we became a turnaround school, and then they brought in, and then our principal, Mr. Wade, he had left and took another job.
Yes.
Then they brought in, you know, at that point they brought in Keisha Wilkins. So we was under the assistant superintendent of, oh my God, his name just left me. He's standing so I can see his face.
So Keisha Wilkins is now the principal there?
She's our principal, right. But when the Turnaround Network came in, they give you, like, each school kind of has their own administrative superintendent. But he has now left, and he went to another. He went someplace else too, out of town. So, you know, at that point, we had populations of students started to decrease as more charter schools open, more cyber opportunities open, and we had started to decrease from that point. But still, no one wanted to talk about the kings and queens that we have in Martin Luther King as well. So everyone is really quick to focus on the negatives, and we're dealing with teenagers. When we start cutting, when you take out, like, the automotive programs, when you start cutting art and music, when you start cutting off the things that students are really interested in, because in the sake of saving academics for having more English and having more math classes, you lose our kids. You absolutely lose our kids, because part of the reason to come to school, not only should it be about academics, but it also should be about what can I learn and what is of interest to me. Right. Nationally, we have this big push to send everybody to college, and everybody's not going to college.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with, learning how to be an electrician, because Lord knows we all need those. A plumber, a mechanic. Those are viable trades that our children can learn to be self-sufficient. We have a whole garage that hasn't been open since 2013, might have closed 2014.
Right.
And that it should be utilized. And when you ask our students, and tell them that we have one, they're like, well, why isn't it open? I would do that. And when we have things of interest for students stay in school.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So let me, because Kim needs to call in, and the lines are tied up, and so I know you and her are going to be talking about at 1:41. Let me talk to the students, Shane and Samia. Shane and Samia, are you both there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you gonna tell us something really? Tell us what you love about Martin Luther King High School, sir.
All right. The one thing I know I love most about Martin Luther King is the coaches and the teachers there. Mm-hmm. Especially Miss Crawford. I gotta say Miss Crawford, my favorite teacher.
Yeah.
But also other things that I love about King is just the whole. It's like it really is like a love-hate relationship with what I'm about to say is like the dynamic of the school. Mm-hmm. And why I say it's like love and hate because it's like very like open warming, but it's also can be like cold and dry at the same time. And what I mean by that is that you can feel safe in the school, but you also feel like you in prison at the same time.
Ah, say more about that.
Well, what I mean by it feels like it's a prison is just how, all the students, they go to class, we all got our regimens. You go to probably like 3 classes, class, then class, then class. Then you got like a 15, 20-minute lunch, then another class, and then you go home. Or whatever extracurricular activities you do.
Right.
And that's how it is every day.
Right.
It's just like a prison. You go to a classroom, four walls and one door. The classrooms all next to each other, all boxes. And it's just the same regimen every day, and it can get boring at times.
Yeah, which then makes children feel like there are all sorts of antics going on. So I get it. Let me talk to Samia for a second. Samia, are you there?
Yes.
Hi. What would you like to tell me about Martin Luther King High School? Thank you both for calling in, by the way. I fully appreciate it. What would you like to tell me?
For me, Martin Luther King is a place where I got so many opportunities to do so many great things. I have went to Washington twice because of Martin Luther King. I am on honor roll. I have AP classes. I'm basically almost done with high school. I only have like 2 classes to take next year.
Wow.
And I'm doing college classes next year for school enrollment. So Martin Luther King has great opportunities. Nobody is there to tell people about them. Everybody thinks like that school is for bad children who get kicked out of the great schools.
Right.
Martin Luther King is actually a really good school. People just need to open up and put us out there because we have really good students who really want to do something, but nobody's giving us a chance.
Wow. So I'm so glad that you all call in. This is wow. What do you say to the people, both of you, who consistently put out the bad news about Emma? It's a beautiful building. I've driven by that building. I've been inside that building. I've had conversations with students in there. And you're right. When you don't have extracurricular activities, when you don't have the same rights and freedoms as other schools have, then you start to see certain things go on there. What would you want people to know about Martin Luther King High School that they just don't know right now, both of you?
Samia, what you
go ahead.
You want to
go
speak
ahead,
first
Shane.
for me? You said me. All right. I feel like people need to understand that even though with all the history about how Martin Luther King was in the past, that's not what we going towards in the future.
Right.
Just because just because the school had that reputation in the past does not mean it's the same reputation. Does not mean they're doing the same thing as they doing in the present, and it does not mean that's how they moving in the future. Because the students at King, they're not bad people, and they're not criminals. They're human beings who just trying to learn and find their place in the world. And I feel like King is really a good place for that. It really is. It's just people just need to open their minds and not judge people. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
That's basically what I'm saying.
All right, and you, Samia?
I think people need to understand that we are just like other children and kids at other schools. We want to be lawyers, doctors, entrepreneurs, nurses. We want to help people. We want to become social workers. We want to do music like anybody else in the world, but nobody is giving us that chance. People are being ignorant because of what they hear from back in the day when my mom went to that high school. And my mom graduated. She has a master's degree, and I think she has a bachelor's and a master's or something. I'm not sure, honestly, but my mom graduated from college. My mom is intelligent. She's one of the smartest people I know. And for people to say that whoever comes from Martin Luther King High School is nothing but a problem child or anything like that is ignorant, to be honest.
Yeah. I can't thank you both enough, Samia Sawyer and Shane Carter, rising seniors at Martin Luther King High School. You did an excellent job speaking on behalf of your classmates and your school. Your principal should be proud, really. So when you go back to school, let the principal know that you spoke up on behalf of your school. And I agree with the both of you. I want to thank you both for calling in, okay?
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. The next voice you're going to hear is still Angela Crawford, but then we'll have Kim Lawson calling in, who is president of the Martin Luther King High School and coordinator of the upcoming community library. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Times are changing, and you deserve a system designed to grow your business. Meet Jaxcom, the new standard in business class voice. Only Jaxcom gives you the most features per dollar. Things like visual voicemail, call monitoring, advanced call queues, virtual assistant, plus a lot more. The stuff the other guys charge you extra for or don't have. Jaxcom proudly supports Black-owned businesses. Reference WORD for 20% off any plan. Jaxcom. Visit us online at jaxcom.net. That's JAXCOM.net.
Listen to Laborers Live. We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour work day, kind of work people more than 8 hours without overtime, kind of work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
Do you need health insurance for your children? The Children's Health Insurance Program, also known as CHIP, provides quality, affordable health insurance for Pennsylvania kids. CHIP ensures that kids can go to the doctor, receive health screenings and vaccines, and get what they need to live a healthy childhood. Families can be covered by CHIP no matter how much money they make. If you've experienced a recent change in employment or income, CHIP may be a good option for your family. Visit chipcoverspakids.com to apply or learn more.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WORD Radio. Streaming live on WordRadio.com and the WORD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you want to call in to talk about Martin Luther King High School, the phone number is 215-634-8065. We just had Samia Sawyer and Shane Carter, who are rising seniors at Martin Luther King High School, talking about their alma mater. I love it. They're like, look, you're talking about what happened in the past. You can't keep holding us down because of things that happened happened in the past. We've had a lot of issues there, but we have grown, and there's some really great students there. And, you know, Samia talked about her mother graduating from King years ago and now has a master's degree. So we want to be able to give these young people the benefit of the doubt, because they're right. If we continue to say these things, what comes out of our mouth is what we manifest. And so now we want to manifest a different conversation about Martin Luther King High School than the one that we've always heard, that only the bad kids go to. We have to stop saying that, right? All these children, all these young people deserve to have a great space to learn and to thrive, and they want to feel good about where they end up going to school. All right, so right now we still have Angela Crawford on, and we now have Kim Lawson, who is the president of the MLKHS and coordinator of the upcoming community library. Kim and Angela, are you both there?
They're here.
All right. So, Kim, tell me a little bit. What does president of Martin Luther King High School mean?
Presently?
Yes.
A little bit. That's hard to put in just one word.
Okay.
We need staff and we need resources.
Staff and resources. Why do you think that Martin Luther King, you know, we keep saying that we want these children to do well. How do we do well without staff and resources? How does that happen?
And that is an excellent question. And the thing is, we've been making it with what we have, because we have dynamic teachers such as Angela Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
We have people that are just determined to just make it, no matter how many times, you know, you may hit a no.
Right.
You know, that just goes on through it. You know, how many doors are shut in our faces and things like that. People that are just determined culturally, people just determined because of the love of our children. And like I tell everybody else, you know, these are all my babies.
Right.
You know, I didn't birth them, but they're my baby because they're my people, and this is my community.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, you know, and the alumni, the original, the first, or those that are coming out of now, they have a passion, and they have a deep concern, and there is ownership there, but for some reason, we're not getting that attention. The school is not getting what we need. We strive, and it just seems to be shut. But again, we're out there doing what we can as the Alumni Association, you know, and it's the Associated Alumni of Martin Luther King High School.
Ah, so you're the alumni, yes.
Yeah, it's that association, and it's that negative narrative that, you know, no matter which way you go, it comes up that way. And if you Google Martin Luther King this very second, the description of Martin Luther King High School on Wikipedia talks about a shooting that happened many, many years ago.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Our website is not given the same tools, or the school is not given the same tool for our website as a Northeast or Masterman or anybody else. We have to struggle so much harder for everything we get, and it is ridiculous. You know, how can you not have a library when we have 10,000 square feet of emptiness? I don't care where technology is. We should have something that the kids can put their hands onto, and they don't. Their excuse is, you know, technology is what it is. But hey, Masterman got a brand new library. Engineer of science is getting a brand new one now.
Listen, and Temple just built a state-of-the-art library. We need to use our library. So what do they mean? There's no library at MLK right now?
It's closed down.
We have
it closed down because we didn't have somebody to actually run it.
Formerly known as the library.
So you have a space at what, Angela?
We have a space that was formerly known as the library.
This is so insane.
Yes.
So, all right. So
10,000 square feet plus.
Okay, so here's my question to you. How do we solve this? What is the solution to creating a better narrative for Martin Luther King High School, A, and B, getting the resources and the staffing over there? Because it's almost criminal that we allow a group of children to be in a school building where they don't have the resources that is being given out to other schools, you know. And so then we wonder and expect, and so then of course we don't expect the children to do well. So what are the solutions? What do we need to do to get you to the place where A, we change the messaging around MLK, and that's going to start with each and every one of us, quite frankly. We all have to stop saying that's the school that nobody wants to go to, right? And B, to get the staff and the resources over there.
Now, first of all, excuse me, Angie, I'm sorry, but you know, first of all, it's what it is. It's bringing attention. Nobody's paying attention to King. First of all, everybody believes that it still is a charter school. It never became one. And first of all, I was there in the fight when we went through that with Mosaica Foundations and where it was going, and people thought that it was a charter school. And then when they went into that whole We Are King documentary and Everybody's like, okay, King is doing good. Everybody was flocking there to teach and everything like that. And then when the cameras came, everything, our cameras disappeared, so did the other people. So it's community and everybody's assumption of what King is and where it stands. No, there isn't a management company running King. It's a public school, and it's the only public high school left in the Northwest region, almost the only public school, because there's so many charters and magnets and schools, called pop-up schools that are popping around, and King is right there, and it can be and should be the beacon of anything public having to do in that area.
But I need to add two things.
Yes.
One, I need people to understand that the district has been using us as a dumping ground. They look at numbers. We have almost a 40% special ed population, and that means that anybody that's put out of Camelot or formerly known as Glen Mills and other alternative schools, they are sent to King. There's no transition plans. There's no nothing. They just send everybody without resources. So when you have that population of students coming in with the 40% special ed population, and you send no additional resources, either financial or human, and you continue to cut, then therefore we continue to have these problems.
Right.
So, and that has to stop first and foremost. To say, oh well, they're the throwaway school. We'll just throw everybody in there that nobody wants, and we'll put them in there. And that's so not fair, because we have, like I said, really amazing kids who deserve so much more. Yes. And that, just to talk to any, like you talked to two of them, but to talk to them in depth,
right?
You'll be amazed. We have AP classes because about 5 years ago, I said, listen, what I will say about Ms. Wilkins is anything for the kids, she's open to. And I said, Ms. Wilkins, we need to be able to offer our kids the same opportunities.
Right.
So me and another teacher, Ms. O'Connor, went for the AP training. So we offer AP classes. I'm happy to say that this year I'm also a Harrisburg University corporate faculty member, and along with Dr. Fleming, and we'll be offering two dual enrollment courses this year too.
Right.
So always trying to bring people in to make sure, or bring opportunities in for our students to have those opportunities. Because it's not an achievement gap, it's an opportunity gap. And
It's an opportunity gap. I agree with you, Angie. I absolutely agree with you. An opportunity
and our kids
gap.
are only good in our basic academics. Because of that, King, as I know, I graduated in 1979 proudly. As I walk through those halls, I still hear it. I still go back. And, our alumni is intense, and they are involved. And what it is King needs to be that comprehensive school that it used to be. We have the opportunity to do that. We have the square footage and everything.
Yeah, you have lots of space in that building. Lots of space.
Lots of space. We have more than enough. We house Barton School, elementary school, K through, third grade, I think, Angie, during their asbestos issue in the first floor.
Wow.
Totally separate from our kids.
Wow.
And people's perception of what that was supposed to be turned out totally different too. And, we documented that. But that's another story within itself, so it's a matter of what it is that we have to offer them. And alumni, along with the staff, have been working on after-school programs that we give as alumni. We have alumni that are offering barbering classes. We have alumni that are offering mechanics and carpentry and things like that. And we were on a serious roll with that just as the school shut down for COVID. This is done by alumni and staff, not by school district. This is things that they have been offering scholarships every year, 4,000, 5,000 or more each year for our students. You know what I mean? So the alumni is involved, and we're making the change. We're determined to make that change, and at the same time, to get people to understand the legacy. It's not about a king, the crown. It's about a king, the man, carries the name. He just happened to carry the name, but his legacy of education and character. You can't possibly build character based on just reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Right. As my husband says, if you know how to use your hand, you will always work. Let me ask you this.
Exactly.
Why is King fighting for so much funding? Like Gary says, Martin Luther King and no other school should ever have to worry about funding. It is a part of the Philadelphia School District. He says, why is the funding and staffing not available for the students at MLK? That is a question we need to be asking our elected officials in Philadelphia. And why the continued gross neglect of our students and teachers at MLK? Somebody needs to answer that question, and people need to be held accountable. I absolutely agree with him. It is a part of the Philadelphia School District, so we have got to figure this out. And I'm so glad that you both called in, because guess what? I'm going to continue to have conversation with you about King, right? Let's use part of this platform to keep highlighting what's happening in that school, and not just the Centrals and the Germantown Friends and the, we want to make sure that every school building in the Philadelphia School District and beyond gets fair funding, a fair shake, and that the messaging is good for the students that are there, right? And then we also want to look into why is it that 40% of the students that come in, it's a dumping ground, according to Angela Crawford. Special ed population, 40% special ed population, that is crazy, absolutely crazy.
And compared to our numbers of populations, I think we're a little less than 700 students. So
700 students, and 40% of them are special ed?
Less than 700. I've probably been a little generous with the 700 past number. But less than 700, and with 40%. So, yes. So we can see that the definite imbalance here.
Yes.
And that imbalance can make a significant difference as well.
Okay.
And with this in mind, too, that at one point the school carried over 3,000 kids. 3,000.
3,000 kids.
Yes, my class size was 694 kids.
Wow. So the school carried over 3,000 students at one point, and now it's less than 700.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're gonna come back to this. I have to take a station break and get to the next guest, but I want to continue to have this dialogue with the both of you, with more students, okay? I think it is important for us to change the narrative about Martin Luther King High School, and we can definitely do something about it on this show. So I want to thank you both for calling in, and we'll catch up soon, all right?
All right, thank you for having us.
Oh, you are quite welcome. You're quite welcome. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
In Pennsylvania, everyone counts, and everyone needs to participate in the census. Our population count determines our voice in government and how much federal funding our communities receive for health care, food assistance, education, transportation, housing, and more. So every infant and child, every foreign and U.S. citizen, everyone matters. For a stronger future, we all need to count. To learn more, go to pa.gov/census.
Keystone First VIP Choice HMO SNP Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan has a 4 out of 5 star rating and is one of the highest rated Medicare plans in the region. Keystone First VIP Choice and you are better together. If you live in Philadelphia, Bucks, Chester, Montgomery, or Delaware County, and you have both Medicare and Medicaid, choose the Medicare plan that is working to help you get better care. Enjoy extra benefits at no cost to you with Keystone First VIP Choice. You get benefits like dental, vision, and transportation to and from your medical appointments. They also cover a fitness membership to a gym of your choice. $150 toward over-the-counter pharmacy items. There's no copay for doctor's visits. They offer a large provider network, a great prescription plan, dental coverage, and even eyeglasses. Plus, you don't have to wait for open enrollment. You can change your coverage every quarter. Keystone First VIP Choice. The name you trust, the service you deserve. Call Keystone First VIP Choice today at 1-877-686-1760 or visit KeystoneFirstVIPChoice.com.
Home of the Happy Hour. With Sincerely Sarita. This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Streaming live at WordRadio.com and on the Word Radio app.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. A mom called in here while I was on the air talking about Martin Luther King High School. If you are hearing my voice, can you call me back, please? I'd really like to hear your concerns and your thoughts about the school itself, because based on what I was just told, you can see from the fact that there are no resources being put in there, no staffing, the proper staffing is not there, according to the teacher, Angela Crawford, and the alumni president, Kim Lawson. The alumni seems to be over there doing all that they can to help Martin Luther King High School, but it really should not have to come down to that. They should have the kind of funding necessary. How do you go from a 3,000 student building to a less than 700 student? And they said they host a whole elementary school in there, K through third grade, because they have 10,000 square feet of just empty space. This is what they're saying to me. This is not Andrea talking. They don't even have a library, they say. So they're working on getting a library into the building. So there's some concerns here. And if you are an alum of Martin Luther King High School, if you are a current student of Martin Luther King High School and you're a parent and you want to talk about, let's figure it out. I mean, we understand that the challenges are there, but I also want you to, let's figure out how we can move things forward to turn this from a school that is where everybody goes when they don't have anywhere else to go to a school that is fully appreciated. I really want to make sure that that starts to happen. And quite frankly, if we are going to be doing this with all the other schools, we want to make sure that Martin Luther King School has the same options too. Right now we have on the line Joanne McFall from Keystone. So Joanne McFall is on to discuss how systemic racism influences health due to decades of unequal access to opportunities for even the most basic needs, such as quality education, which we just got finished talking about. So depending on your zip code and where you live, you don't get the quality education that you need. And it's frustrating because, like my son said to me, you can tell where someone went to school when you get to college, right? And the children are good. They have A's and B's. They're in honors classes in these community schools, and they get to college and realize that their peers who were taking honors and advanced placement classes in other places are far surpassing them. They get discouraged, and there's no retention there, right? They drop out of college. So the way the system is set up, again, self-interest, right, and denial. The way the system is set up, if we're saying that we want all children to succeed, then we want to make sure that all schools have the kind of resources and the staffing that they need, not just the ones we deem acceptable, right? So, Joanne, are you there?
I am. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm telling you, I think I've spoken to you now about 3 times. This is good. This is so good. So tell us what you'd like to discuss with us now.
Well, I really wanted to, I appreciate the opportunity to just really highlight the issue that we're all talking about here, which is, these issues have existed for all time.
Mm-hmm.
These aren't new issues. Mm-hmm. And, we all recognize the fact that there are these inequities in our communities that are disproportionately impacting people who are Black, Latinx, African American,
Mm-hmm.
people who are poor. And so as a health plan, Keystone First, we've always been in the community, and we've always taken an approach to providing health care and social support services for all of our members.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is now that, all of these issues are really putting a lens on how we have to recognize that there are these inequities, and that we have to redesign the way we do business to make sure that we're addressing specific issues that affect different communities in different ways.
Mm-hmm. So what are you doing now? How are you doing this?
Sure. So one of the things that we're doing is really tailoring our efforts to, first of all, recognize in our own organization and with our providers who support our plan and provide care to our members that these biases do exist,
Mm-hmm.
and that there is an active effort that needs to be taken
Mm-hmm.
to address those biases. So we provide cultural competency and health disparity training
Mm-hmm.
for all of our associates. And now what we've been doing for the past year or so is also incorporating that training and those requirements for our providers. So we can't have situations where we've got providers who are doing the best that they can to provide care to our communities, but who aren't recognizing those hidden biases that exist. And recognizing that even inadvertently they may be having an impact on the kind of care that they are providing to their patients. And that you can see that most strikingly when we look at maternal mortality and statistics on the number of issues, including infant deaths and maternal deaths in the Black community. And so these biases, they have an impact on how providers even diagnose or provide care to their members,
yes,
and how they communicate with their patients, how they collaborate, and it results in hundreds of billions of dollars in healthcare costs that are what happens as a result of those situations escalating to the point of an emergency or God forbid, a death.
So how do we get to the place, forgive me, Joanne, how do we get to the place where we get medical providers? Because I'm getting ready to train a group of residents, doctors, at a particular hospital because they wanted to know what could they do differently. And, you know, it really starts with when a client walks into your room to be seen, to be diagnosed, because already it's taken a lot out of them to even come to you, right? Because they don't trust the medical system anyway. And so they get to you and you don't look them in the eye. You make assumptions based on what you hear from them. You're not fully listening to their symptoms, right? And then when they are, or if they come in and they're not dressed a certain way, or they don't smell a certain way, or they, you know, like we have to really be very careful about how we manage people that are coming to us, and to really hear them when they're talking to us. I can tell you from personal experience, Ms. McFall, that, you know, college educated, you know, husband, the whole 9 yards, middle income family, and I go to doctors and I literally have had to fire several doctors because they wouldn't listen, right? At least a few of them have said, well, I'm the medical expert here and you're not. And I said, but I'm the expert of my body. Goodbye. Thank you for playing. Right?
Exactly.
But I have the wherewithal to have that conversation and to fire doctors. There are people who it takes so much time for them to even find anyone. And by the time they come to you, they're in such dire straits. You know what I mean? At the very least, we can listen to them and try to find a way to hear what they're saying. They may not, and the other thing is the language that they may use. They may not be able to explain in terms that may be deemed appropriate by medical professions. But if someone says to you something is hurting and they can't quite describe what it is, it's like us talking about a car. Then you start to break away. What could it possibly be? Versus saying, take this prescription and call me if anything changes. Do you know what I mean?
I totally agree with everything that you've said, and what you're doing by even saying that you're having these conversations with medical residents. I mean, first of all, that's where it has to start. It has to start with training programs for doctors that are in school now, but it also then has to be retraining those providers that have been practicing for 40 years, you know? And so what we have actually started doing is, you know, on a periodic basis throughout the year, we hold provider seminars. And it used to be that providers and their staff would come to these and have complaints about, you know, that their bills weren't, their claims weren't getting paid. And now it's about bringing these resources. And so we have had training sessions where there are experts in these fields who are now working with providers, first of all, you know, breaking through their own defensiveness, which is, I don't do that. Well, you may not even realize that you do it. So let's not talk about, you know, as much as we want providers to stop blaming patients for their conditions or not being able to talk about their conditions, you know, the providers want us to stop blaming them for things they don't even know that they're doing. So it's mostly about opening people up to recognizing that you might not even know that you are treating people in a certain way, but here's ways that you can recognize now that you are doing this. And once you can get people to understand that they're doing it, whether they're intending to do it or not, then you can start getting them to move along to the point where they accept that and are willing to change it. So that's the challenge, is really getting people to understand and accept that what they're doing may not even be conscious, but they're still doing it. And so it's a long, hard road. But, you know, for us, the important thing is to build trust by forming partnerships with the providers or with the grassroots community organizations that are working to address these issues every day.
And are you doing that on any level at Keystone?
Oh, absolutely. So we have a health education advisory committee that's made up of probably at this point about 40 different grassroots community organizations throughout the area. And some of those are provider organizations. Some of them are local organizations that are addressing issues of violence in the community. They may be education and workforce development partners. So we have all of those different perspectives, and we really try our best not to roll out new solutions to our community without vetting them through that group, because we need to make sure that the programs that we're building and the things that we're doing reflect the needs of the community, not just what we think the community needs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And so let me ask you this: what are you hoping to gain from changing the way business is done, as it applies to providers and the patients?
Well, the main thing is if we do our job in the best way that we can do it. I'm one of the only businesses that's going to tell you I want to help my customers get to a point where they don't need me anymore.
Yes.
So that if we can break down these issues of racism and other health inequities that exist, then our members will engage and they will get all the care that they need. They'll get connected to the other supports like food resources and education and jobs, and all of a sudden they'll have life success, not just good health, but good life success, and then they won't need us anymore. So that's my dream of what that would look like for our communities, with Keystone First being not the handout, but the hand up and the support that people need in order to achieve those goals.
Yes, the hand up. You're absolutely right. Exactly. And so when someone comes in to visit a doctor, through Keystone, and the doctor can ascertain that they're having housing vulnerability, food vulnerability, what processes do you have in place for that doctor to be able to pick up the phone or to say to the patient, go here, and you can get some extra help?
Yep. So one of the things that we have is a program called Let Us Know. And our providers know that if they are seeing one of their patients who is a Keystone First member who has an issue, then they can contact us and let us know that this person is experiencing an issue with housing, for example, or they're currently homeless. And then our care management team can then outreach to that person and start working with them to connect them to the resources they need. Another thing that we do as a plan is that we do outreach to our members on a routine basis, and we have 450,000 members, so it's a lot of work. But we do a health risk assessment and a social determinant survey. So we have people who just reach out to call our members, and we keep that information in our system. So if I call you today and I find out that you may be experiencing an issue with not being able to access food for your family, then I can start to work with you and document and connect you to that resource. Now, you might tell me today that you don't have a need in any of those areas, but then you know through that interaction that you can call us back if those issues start to come out. So it's kind of a combination of active outreach to our members, but also passive outreach from providers and from those other community organizations to know that if we have a member who has a need, they can contact us. We also have a GED program. So if our members are pursuing their GED, Keystone First will pay for the cost of that test. And also the cost of taking practice tests. And we have a mentor program of people who reach out to our members who are going through the GED process to encourage them, make sure that they are on track to complete the work that they need to do. And if somebody takes the test once and doesn't pass it, we'll pay for it again, because not everybody achieves their success on the first try.
Okay, Ms. McFall, let me ask you this. Who are your clients? Who are the people that are eligible for Keystone?
So our clients are people who are eligible through the Pennsylvania Health Choices Medical Assistance Program. So and that's based on income and other factors. So folks who apply for medical assistance benefits through the county assistance offices, if you go through that process and it's determined that you're eligible for the program, you then have an opportunity to choose among several different healthcare companies that will become your insurance company. So Keystone First is one of those choices right now. in the 5-county Philadelphia and surrounding area.
Right.
And then once a member is enrolled in our plan, they then have access to that range of benefits and services. So, in the old days, it used to be, we were an insurance company and we paid for, if you had to go to your doctor or go to the hospital or get certain medications. But now, over time, we recognize that in order for people to be healthy and successful, they also need supports in all of these other areas, like nutrition counseling. We have a gym benefit for people who are looking at healthy exercise habits. So there are so many other different supports that are beyond just, I have to go to the doctor and it will be covered by this insurance company.
And, that's why I like talking to you, because you're giving people a clear example of what can be accessed through their health insurance company. And these are for people who are applying for medical assistance through the state, and you are one of the people that are offering. But I know you've had COVID testing. I know you've done food giveaway. I know you've done. It's so much so that it's so funny. I haven't heard from your guy recently because usually I'll ask and get a bunch of questions. Now I know what questions to ask you. Right? And you have been very open and transparent with me in answering those questions, right? So that the people can understand what you do have to offer and the benefit that you bring to them. I know a few people who could apply for medical assistance, and so they're listening on WURD right now, which is the beautiful thing about this radio station and the kinds of clientele that listens to it. It may not be someone who is listening, but it may be someone who is listening who may know someone who may need to apply for medical benefits, and we'll tell them, go get this over here because they're offering this, and this. And so I want to thank you so much, as always, for calling in, really, and giving us great information each and every time. And it just seems like you're getting better. As we say in Jamaica, you're getting better by the minute.
We're trying. You know what? Yes. And I just want people to know that there is no shame. There should not be. People should not be. These are the benefits and services that are available to people, and they should take advantage of them. And I don't mean take advantage in a bad way. I mean access the things that are available, because it's not just about I'm on welfare or whatever. It's about helping people to set up a path to be successful in life.
Yes.
Who knew that you could work with your insurance company to get a GED? But if you do, then maybe we can connect you to a job. I have people who have gone through our GED program who now are part of the team that's doing that outreach to members, and other people just like them who were in their shoes, and now they have achieved a level of success, and they want to help other people get there as well. So this isn't about, just supporting people with handouts. This is about supporting people on a path to being healthy and successful in
Absolutely. So let me just be the first one to say this to you, and I don't think I've ever said this since you've been calling in here. It starts with the leadership. So the fact that you have a vision, and that you are holding people accountable and putting processes in place so that people can not, so it's not a blame game, but that so that people can succeed. I'd really like to meet you when COVID is over.
Oh, definitely.
Right now.
We need to have lunch.
Yes.
We talk about where do we go from.
Yeah, because Joanne, let me tell you, it's Miss McFall. Let me call you Miss McFall because I don't know you well enough to call you Joanne. It really comes down to who is at the head, right? Because it trickles into, all right, if the leadership is embracing this, then I have to embrace this, and then we'll move forward. And that's why we're starting to see, because every time I talk to you, you give me something else wonderful that's happening over there. So I want to thank you personally and your team for doing a great job, and for educating and giving the WURD listeners what they need to know about Keystone Health. All right?
You're so welcome, and we want to thank you for always being an advocate for your listeners and your community, and doing the right things all the time. So we're really very proud to be able to partner with you to do that.
All right. Thank you so much. Until next time, until Derek reaches out to us again.
We'll do it anytime. Thank you.
All right. Oh, you're quite welcome. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
If you want to start your morning with mindfulness, motivation, and inspiration, tune in to Daybreak with me, Helana, here on WURD Radio, Monday through Friday from from 6 to 7 a.m. I'm a health and wellness coach with over 15 years experience helping people to transform their lives. On the show, we talk health and wellness 360, from getting your mind right to getting your money right. So let's rise and shine together right here on WURDradio.com, 96.1 FM, 900 on your AM dial on Daybreak every morning.
Word Radio Digital Tip of the Week with Stephanie Humphrey.
I'm your Tech Life expert, Stephanie Humphrey, and this is your Word Digital Tip of the Week. There is a lot of misinformation on the internet these days. It can be hard to know what's true or false, especially on social media. Where can you go online to verify the things you see and read? Snopes.com, that's SNOPES.com, has been fact-checking stories on the internet for almost 25 years. They check news stories, they verify whether politicians are telling the truth or not, they debunk conspiracy theories, and they can tell you whether that post you saw on Facebook is a hoax. You can also send them questions if you don't find what you're looking for on the site. There are lots of other websites on the internet that you can use to fact check, but Snopes.com is a one-stop shop for verifying everything from the latest news stories to everyday urban legends. With misinformation at an all-time high, we need to make sure we're not spreading anything that's not true. Snopes.com makes it easy for you to verify before you share. Stay tuned to WURD for more tech tips and stay connected with us at wordradio.com.
The Word Digital Tip of the Week is brought to you by Comcast NBC Universal.
Always Best Care is a great place to work. Flexibility,
leadership, purpose,
great benefits.
There's never a dull moment.
Diversity, inclusion, compasión.
We love our jobs. If you're looking for a great place to work, you can join our compassionate Team Green. You can apply online at teamgreenabc.com or call 267-909-9248.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
This is Kelvin Jeremiah, President and CEO of the Philadelphia Housing Authority. At PHA, we remain dedicated to serving our more than 80,000 residents during these challenging times. We have been providing masks to all PHA residents and access to healthy meals for kids. Our offices are closed to keep everyone safe, but residents can pay their rent online at pha.phila.gov. The Philadelphia Housing Authority is opening doors to opportunities.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I had Joanne McFall from Keystone first, who... Let me just make sure that I didn't do that incorrectly. From Keystone, and she was talking about programming as well as training for the people that are serving the community, the doctors, the nurses, etc., food resources, housing resources, and even help people to get their GEDs that Keystone will pay for. If you're someone who is on government assistance and need medical benefits, Keystone is one of the places where you can apply for assistance, and they will do all these services and so much more. Our next guest is Senator Art Haywood, and he is someone, I'm just letting you all know because I'm always very honest with you guys, someone that I have known for years. I met Senator Art Haywood when he was a school board member and I believe president at one point in the Cheltenham School District. So I'm talking, we're going back years, right? So let me introduce him to those of you who have never heard of him before. Senator Haywood was raised by his mother, a public school teacher, who instilled in him the value of hard work and getting a quality education. He began working at the age of 9 as a newspaper delivery boy. After receiving his bachelor's degree and graduating magna cum laude from Morehouse College, Art went on to attend the London School of Economics as a Marshall Scholar to complete his master's degree, and then graduated from the University of Michigan Law School in 1985. Art began working at the Community Legal Services, saving families from home foreclosure. I can't wait to have this conversation with him. He's also worked at Regional Housing Legal Services and in private practice as a lawyer, assisting nonprofit organizations to revitalize neighborhoods. Art has previously served as legal counsel for Esperanza, a community development organization in the Hunting Park section of North Philadelphia. In 2009, Art was inspired by President Barack Obama to run for township commissioner in Cheltenham. He won that election, and his work as commissioner included divesting pension money from gun makers, starting the Sustainable Cheltenham Initiative Initiative and creating a non-discrimination ordinance for sexual orientation and gender identity. After serving as president of the Board of Commissioners in Cheltenham, he was elected state senator for the 4th District in 2014. So wait. Wasn't school board, it was board commission, township commissioner. I got it wrong. I could have sworn it was school board. Never mind, we'll get to that in a minute. Through his leadership as a state senator, Art has worked to reduce homelessness through expansion of the Pennsylvania Housing Affordability and Rehabilitation Enhancement Act, passed requirements to test for lead water in Pennsylvania and schools, and successfully championed legislation to relocate domestic violence survivors living in public housing. Most recently, he completed his 2019 Poverty Listening Tour and issued a report with 20 recommendations to reduce poverty in every community of Pennsylvania. He also fought for $193 million in federal CARES Act funds to be allocated to prevent evictions, foreclosures, and homelessness in Pennsylvania during the COVID-19 pandemic. Art has 3 adult children and resides in Wyncote with his wife for 30 years, Julie. Art is on to talk about voter registration in the mail-in ballot campaign. Senator Haywood, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for that introduction. And yes, we met in the schools campaign.
Yes.
We were trying to reduce the achievement gap.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been a long struggle, man.
And we're still in it.
Still in it. Still having the conversations about making sure that children of color gain access to advanced placement and honors classes. Still making sure that children are not disproportionately targeted for discipline. Still making, I mean, come on. It's 2020. We started this years ago.
Yeah, we did. And tonight I'm talking with some folks in Abington about how we can make the same demands that we talked about in 2004 and 2005. The journey continues, although there's new people involved, and so I maintain hope.
Yes, and so I keep saying this to people, that racism is steeped in denial and self-interest, right? And so you and I are going to talk today about voter registration, mail-in ballots. What do you have for us, sir? And let the people know, because this is a very important election.
So number one, we can all vote without going to the polls. We can all vote by mailing in a ballot, as long as you're registered to vote. Now, let me just give you some context. This is the first year we've had this in Pennsylvania. The law just passed, so it's new to everybody. It's new to everyone. But in June, 174,000 Philadelphians voted with mail and absentee. 174,000. 166,000 voted in person.
Wow.
So we are already doing more mail than in person, which is critical because of the pandemic.
Right.
I can't be more ecstatic that we are already grasping it. Now we have some deadlines coming up. The first deadline is voter registration. That's October the 19th. People, please don't wait till the last day.
Oh, I know.
The next deadline is October the 27th. That's the last day to submit your vote-by-mail application. Please don't wait till the last day, because the election is on the 3rd of November. And when you submit an application on the 27th of October, that's only giving the city a week to turn around the application and get a ballot in your hand.
Yeah, so let me ask you this, Senator Haywood.
Sure.
Can they send a mail-in ballot? How soon can they start to send in their mail-in ballots for the November election?
You can apply for a mail-in application today.
That's what I was hoping you would say.
You can do it today.
Okay.
It's online. It's at votes, VOTESPA, votespa.com. You can apply online today.
Votespa.com.
Now, I know there's a lot of people who don't have the online access, and the post office is beginning to get these vote-by-mail paper applications, although that's still in process and may not be able to get that at the post office yet. I will say, anyone who's on this call who needs a paper ballot to fill it in, call my office at 215-242-8171. We'll figure out a way to get it to you.
That's what I'm talking about. 215.
You needed a paper. We can get it to you, because
paper ballot. Okay.
We know what's at stake here.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Which is why I was trying to figure out who is so would it be Val Arkush that I called, the county commissioner for the ballots for Montgomery County?
You can call my office in
you?
Montgomery County, and we can get you a ballot as well.
Okay.
If you need a paper ballot.
Here's the reason why I'm asking that question, Senator Haywood. I need somebody from Montgomery County to call in here at least once a month leading up to the election, if not more, to remind people to do their vote mail-in ballots. And I'm going to do the same thing with Philadelphia, because I think we're sitting around just kind of waiting. I'm hoping that Commissioner Sabir will agree to call in here at least once a week leading up to the election. And I don't think right now it's too early to start. The July is almost over, right?
We're down to less than, we're getting close to 100 days to the election.
Yes, yes.
So it is getting close. And in Montgomery County, there were more people who voted by mail than in person.
Yes, yes.
So our people are moving toward voting by mail.
Yes.
We just got to keep them going and hopefully discourage these last-minute
things. And I'm right there with you. And so I'll make sure a notation, put it in my schedule that I talk about mail-in ballots and voter registration every single week until the election. Yeah, I'm telling my producer, because here's what I'm thinking, Senator Haywood. If we get people to start applying for their mail-in ballots now while it's nice and warm outside, it gives people time to, get it in, to look at their things, and then be able to send it in. What I saw in the spring, early June, when we were doing it, the May primaries, when it was pushed back, it was all this rushing, right? Everybody was talking about COVID-19, and I think we missed the mark in some areas where it applies to people who were just frustrated because they couldn't get it in. Hear me, people. You're listening to myself and Senator Haywood. You can apply for your mail-in ballot today. votespa.com, and if you need a paper form, call 215-242-8171 to Senator Haywood's office, and they will make sure that you get a paper ballot. Let me ask you this. Tell the people, sir, as if they don't already know, what is at stake in this election?
Really, it's the future of our nation. Unfortunately, we have a white supremacist who's in charge of the nation, and his agenda is all about domination. It's domination of African Americans, domination of Mexican Americans, domination of anyone who's not a white Anglo. But it's more than about race. We know the president has ignored the pandemic.
Yes.
And instead of focusing on making sure everybody has a mask, instead of focusing on making sure there's plenty of tests for us to be tested, instead of focusing on making sure there was tracing, so that once we get tested, we can be traced. Instead of focusing on any of that, he has been talking about any topic other than the pandemic. This is killing Americans.
Yes.
And even if you don't detest his racism, even if you don't detest that he's taken the military into Portland, Oregon to take over a city, you must, I believe, have some respect for human life.
Yes.
And if you believe that human life is sacred, you cannot allow this man back in who has no regard for us.
Yes. All right. So someone has a question for, what's the person's name? Janice. Janice has a question about voting for us. Go ahead, Janice. How are you?
I'm okay. How about yourself?
I'm good. What can we do for you?
Okay. I received a mail-in ballot for the primary election. I need to know, do I have to reapply for a ballot for the general election?
That's a great question. And the answer is, Senator Haywood?
So on your application, there was a box at the bottom. And if you check the box at the bottom which said you wanted to have an annual registration, then you do not have to apply again because you'll get it for this entire year. On the other hand, if you did not check the box at the bottom, that means you only got the approval for the June election and you need to get approval for the November election. I would encourage you to call the local Board of Elections to find out if, in fact, you did check the box. Ma'am, what county are you in?
I'm in Philadelphia County.
I'll give you the phone number to call and to find out if you have already checked the box, so you will be getting the mail ballot in the fall. That phone number is 215 686 3469.
3469.
That's the Board of Elections for the City of Philadelphia. They can get to the heart of whether you will get the mail-in ballot for the fall. And next year, you will have to apply next year, and just make sure, please, you check the box which says you want the annual registration.
Okay.
Okay, so for this year, I'll have to check. Now, is there a way that you can apply and they just continue to send you the mail-in ballot, or will you have to reapply each year?
Right now, under the law, it's each year. Each year you have to reapply.
Oh.
Hopefully we'll update the law so you can be on permanent.
Right.
But in this first go-around, every year you have to apply. And I do have some good news.
Yes.
The actual ballot with the names of the candidates on there should be out by the middle of September.
Yes.
So you'll be able to vote from your home or your apartment, wherever you're living. You will get the ballot, and you can fill it out and send it in a month ahead of time.
Yep.
No pressure.
That's the plan. That is absolutely the plan. I wish we had been speaking to you before the primaries, because I certainly did not know that we could check a box at the bottom to have it done, so that would just automatically send one to us. I think that would have made life a whole lot easier for a whole lot of people.
Yes,
right?
I recall seeing the box, and I do think I filled it in.
Okay.
But I will check to be correct, to be sure.
Yes.
That I did do that.
Yes.
Okay,
well, thank you so much for calling in.
You're welcome.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. So I see that this is good. This is good information, Senator Haywood, because people are asking now, and even I am learning, and I'm sure my husband is listening and going, let's go ahead and apply for the mail-in ballots now and not have to worry about it. But you just said something before Francis got on the line, and we have a few more minutes. We have 4 more minutes to discuss this.
Okay.
What's happening in Oregon? District Attorney Krasner filed a motion to let the federal government know that if a federal officer comes into the city and starts picking off people and putting them and disappearing with them, that they were going to file against them and file criminal charges against them. Is there anything happening in anywhere else around Pennsylvania that you're aware of to mitigate these things from happening? Federal troops coming in and just plucking people off the streets if they're protesting peacefully?
This is outrageous conduct. And we in the state legislature, as well as in conversations with the governor's office, are in conversations about how to deal with the threat from the Trump administration, trying the same thing in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or any other city. We do not have I cannot announce a plan today.
Right.
But there are discussions currently ongoing so we can protect ourselves from this madness.
Yes. It is frightening, isn't it? You wonder what year we're living in.
The president is thinking about how he can declare a police state where he can take control over the cities by using the Army and the armed forces. This is a tremendous threat to our nation. Our nation has never faced a threat where it's like this. I see that the Attorney General's office in Oregon is taking action. The mayor has told them to get out. But it may take the courts. Can you believe that? It may take the courts to get the military out of a state where they're not wanted.
Wow. I wonder if people realize the ramification of this. I wonder if people really get the significance of what is happening around them. And what that means to our democracy, right? Because democracy dies when you become a police state, when the police takes you over. He was in an interview, the president was in an interview 2 days ago, and I think it was CBS, one of them stations. My husband looked at me and I said, oh my gosh. And he says, if I lose, I may not even leave. Did you hear him talk about that? Did you see that interview?
I did hear about it, but I am confident that the armed forces will take him out.
Yes.
So we can get him out. And let me say this. Every door has a key.
Yes, sir.
And every key can be unlocked.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm now it's unfortunate that we could be involved with a bunch of turmoil around it.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get them out, but
Right.
the turmoil associated with dragging that cat out of the office
is going to be something, right? And he has his people set up to start to fight with him. This has been a great conversation. We need to talk again. There's someone on Facebook want to know the number again. Okay, someone says, please advise people to take a picture of their mail-in ballots so that they have proof of who they voted for. And someone says the interview was a Fox News Chris Wallace interview where the president made that comment that if he lost the election, y'all are going to have to drag him out of there, that he may not leave. And to call in for your ballots, Stella Mooring, it's 215-242-8171. You can call Senator Haywood's office. That's his office, 215-242-8171. Or you can call the Philadelphia Commissioner's office, 215-686-3469. Senator Haywood, I want to thank you so much. It's so funny. We've known each other for so many years, and we're now both in positions where we can update and make sure that people are in places where they'll be safe and sound. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Hang in there.
I will. And so do you. We'll talk soon. Someone texted me and said that she loves your, let me see if I get this, that she loves she enjoyed watching your Town Watch calls.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you are quite welcome. You enjoy the rest of your afternoon and stay cool, okay?
All right, you too. Hang in there.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye. Wow, that was a good conversation. I really enjoyed having that conversation with him. Let me give you those numbers again before I go to break. It's 215, Senator Haywood's office, 215-242-8171. If you are wanting to do a mail-in ballot, and I'm going to suggest that we all do it because when summer ends, we are still not out of the first round of COVID-19, which means when the fall comes around and winter, the numbers are tending to spike again. Governors are completely concerned. So don't wait around to see if you can go vote in person. Please get your paper ballot. And according to Senator Haywood, you can get it today, not tomorrow, today. Go to votespa.com and apply for your mail-in ballot. Or if you don't have internet access, you call 215-242-8171 or 215-686-3469. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
These days, it's rough out here. Some important things can fall through the cracks, like completing the 2020 census. You may feel at a time like this, why does it matter? It matters now more than ever before for our families and communities. The 2020 census could mean funding for healthcare, schools, job assistance, and congressional representation. Things our community deserves, but we must do our part now. Complete the census online, by phone, or by mail.
Shape your future. Go to 2020census.gov today. Paid for by U.S. Census Bureau.
Need a new mattress? Stop by to see Julian, the Mattress Man, located at 7421 Stenton Avenue. You deal directly with the owner, Julian, to ensure the best prices on name brand mattresses like Sealy, Posturepedic. Call 215-424-5550. That's 215-424-5550.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. This next guest is a young man that I've always admired. His name is Jawan Williams. We are looking at this article. He's here to talk about his recent experiences at an HBCU and how COVID-19 has affected his ability to learn traditionally. Jawan, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing, mother?
Everybody calls me mother now. So listen, tell the people. I've been watching you for a while. Mother just loves you. So when someone tagged me on Facebook about your conversation that HBUs are havens for young black minds and COVID is in the way, tell us what's going on.
So because of COVID-19, I am not able to go back to my school, Clinton College, in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Unfortunately, we have to go virtual next semester as well, mainly because of just safety precautions, making sure everyone is safe and secure and not sick. Actually, I came home for spring break. I went back to the Charlotte airport to go to Rock Hill that Sunday. That Wednesday, I had to come home for 2 weeks, and then during the 2 weeks, they made the decision that they were canceling the rest of the semester and we were going virtual.
Right. So what does that mean for you when you are now virtual? What are you missing from the HBCU experience sitting at home learning virtually?
So, the love and the support. There's something about being around strong-minded, smart black people who care about you. And with that being said, that is definitely going to be missed, especially with some of my experiences at my other school and just personal experiences that I've had throughout life being a young black African American in these United States. HBCUs do something that no other institution can do, and that is to train and love on young black people the way that they know how to do it.
Yes.
It's something about having someone like Miss Pauline Brown at 8 o'clock in the morning for freshman seminar. It's a humbling experience as a 26-year-old to be in a freshman seminar, learning about schedules and managing money and managing time, not necessarily in a sense of, okay, this is what you have to do as an adult. No, this is what you have to do in a sense of as a person.
Yes.
This is just good routine for you. And Ms. Brown is somebody that I'm going to miss, or someone like Dr. Reginald Broadnax, who was my African-American religion history, who would sit down in a chair and not stand up and teach at a blackboard, but he would sit down in a chair and literally have dialogue with us for lecture. It's not necessarily him teaching at us. It's us conversing. It's
with
us
him,
going through European theology and how, in a sense, it has affected us as African Americans and what that looks like now in the 21st century. How do we look at the black church following European theology? What do we do with that? Do we have to Africanize it, or is there a sense of universal Catholic, I should say, Catholic ideas that with it? I think that HBCUs, in my field of study, I think is definitely beneficial. I want to be a pastor. I'm studying religion, and so with that, a lot of my teachers are pastors, theologians. They understand what it takes to be a preacher, but not only that, the pastor of a black church, because it's very much so different than being a pastor of a church, if that makes sense.
Oh, I do. It does make sense. The first time I saw you, you were sitting up in the lectern at Salem Baptist Church.
Yes, ma'am.
And I looked at you and I smiled and I said, now there's a young lion. You carry yourself like a king. You know,
yes,
who are the people that inspired you to become the person that you are right now? Because I'm telling you, it's written all over you. You're not slumped. You don't. You walk with humility, but with a confidence that you sometimes just don't see in our brothers, right? And you always have a ready smile for people. And I'm not saying that you don't go through your stuff, because you do. Jawan, my oldest son is 27, getting ready to turn 28 tomorrow. And I was telling them today early in the show. He called me this morning. He was like, "These people have lost their minds. College degree, working, and they're like," and he's like, "No." But what he was taught in his lineage and his ancestry was to speak up for himself. Don't just sit there and complain behind the closed doors. And so you remind me a lot of my sons. Actually, that's what
I'm sorry.
That's what first struck me about you, was that you reminded me so much of my son. So who are the people that influenced you to this place where you are today as a young king?
So this is going to put a huge smile on your face. One of your sons actually is one of my big brothers, Charles Wallace.
My son?
Yes, indeed. Wallace actually was the first person that I met when I started working at the YMCA in Avenue.
Oh, wow, Jawan, I did not know that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And he's been a brother beloved ever since. We lost contact, but...
I am going to give you his phone number. Just inbox me on Facebook. I will definitely give you his phone number.
Yes, indeed. He has a special place in my heart. So, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So
I didn't even know you knew my sons.
Oh, yep. That's my guy, and Darrell.
And Darrell, yes.
That crew, yes, indeed.
Yes. Wow.
So some people who have influenced me now, let's see. Well, number one, God. He gives all the honor and praise. God be the glory. My parents. I was just talking to someone this morning, and I was telling them how my parents are not 4-year traditional college students. They got their associates. My dad is a retired state trooper, now he's a sheriff in the city. He owns a funeral home. And my mom works as and they've had their hard times, they've had their trials, they've had their trauma, but yet and still they understood that they had a young man who had a calling at a very young age. And they made sure that I myself carried myself in a way that not only hindered me, but didn't hinder our family's name, but also the God that called me to pastor. Others are my pastors, Pastor Waller at Enon, Pastor Mitchell at Salem, Mr. Palladino at Cairn University. He's a history professor. There are so many. Mr. Hollis, Dr. Harold Cruz, who wrote The Crisis of the Negro Intellect, W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass. There are so many men, I should say, and there's no disrespect to our queens, but it's the men that talk to me and told me, carry yourself as a king.
It's written all over you.
Especially when you don't, you're not acknowledged as you yourself need to walk around high-chested, not in a pompous way,
but a confident way too. Yes,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And the list goes on and on. And the reason for that is because people have told me that they see the same exact thing that you have seen, and I just keep telling them it's by God's grace. It's honestly by God. And my dad named me Jawan. He named me because of Jawan Howard, but I don't know if he knows this. My name means grace.
Your name means what?
It's Nigerian. It means grace. It means God's grace.
Wow.
And His grace has brought me thus far, and will continue to lead me on. And so, those are some of my influences.
Yes. So I'm praying for you that school reopens at some point, so that you can continue to have the influences. Who do you mentor?
So who do I mentor? That's a great question. When I was at the YMCA, I was a Y Achiever leader. I was a Y Achiever at one point. That's actually how I got the job. And then as time went on, I was mentoring kids at the YMCA, and I became a mentor within the Y Achievers program. As you've mentioned, I was the youth minister at St. Baptist, and I was mentoring some of those kids. Just family members for right now. Students at Clinton College have definitely adopted me as an older brother in some way, shape, or form. Dr. McCorn, my president, Dr. Lester McCorn, he made sure that I put myself in a position that I could help lead Clinton to be what it is called to be.
Yes.
I was when I did the interview before, I made this analogy of how Dr. McCorn, I was sitting in his office. I'm his intern, thank God, and he gave me a book, The Crisis of the Negro Intellect by Dr. Harold Cruz, and he told me to read it. He didn't give me a summary. He didn't tell me who Dr. Cruz was. He just wanted me to read the book. And so I started reading the book, and I started learning things like America is a cultural democracy, and how African Americans, we need to build up for ourselves a cultural philosophy. What does a cultural philosophy look like here in America? And how are you yourself, Jawan, building your own personal cultural philosophy?
Come on, Jawan. Come on. You about to make Mother climb out her chair. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So, and again, that goes to that's credited to people like Pastor Marshall Mitchell, Dr. McCorn.
Yes.
Those individuals who tell you, listen, I'm a black man, I don't want to hear any excuses.
Yes.
The time for excuses are over. It's time that we're right now in the middle of a reset, a cultural reset. COVID-19 is doing something that we're not talking about.
Yes.
That is giving us a new normal.
Yes.
So what is that going to look like? How are we going to motivate each other? I know that the way we talk to each other, how we talk to each other, how we communicate, that's going to be different. But we're looking at the negative aspects of it. What are the positives that are going to come out of this?
Yes.
A lot of people have thought about innovative ways in Montgomery County, where we're going to have a drive-through movie theater. We haven't had that.
And I can't tell you how long. And we thought it was extinct, right? Yes.
And so it's coming back. And people are enjoying nature. My friends are talking about going on nature walks. These are the same friends that want to go to brunch on Sunday, but now they want to do nature walks. God is doing a good thing right now, and I hope we're consistent with it.
Jawan, let me say this to you. I literally have to end this segment because, but I'm telling you, the people on Facebook are losing their minds. They're absolutely loving you. On behalf of all the parents that are listening to you, all the black men who have stood in the gap for you and continue to stand in the gap for you, tell each and every one of them I said thank you. Thank you. And please remember, Jawan, that to whom much is given. So all of these black men have poured into you. I love how you lifted them up and said, these are the black men. I love my black women, but the black women have told me, stop making excuses. Do what I needed to do. So I thank those black men for me, every last one of them. But please understand that we're watching you, and if you ever need anything, and I'll send my son's phone number to you too. Okay? So you can go get back in touch with him. I am so supremely proud of you. And your HBCU should be proud to have you there as a leader. And at some point, you're going to be a preacher to end all preachers. Do you understand what I'm telling you? And not just the kind that is up on the pulpit saying a bunch of nothing. You're going to be a preacher that is going to create tangible changes in people's lives. You hear me?
I appreciate that. Thank you. And keep me in your prayers.
Oh, listen, son, always, always. Young King, you have a fantastic afternoon, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
All right. All right. Bye-bye. Woo! That was, I'm all over time and everything, but I haven't played any music, so y'all can have your commercials. We're going to go to the commercial break. And the next conversation I cannot wait to have. OMG. So let me do this now. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Weather and traffic to keep you informed for your drive home.
In the Happy Hour
with Sincerely Sarita.
Monday through Thursday, 4 till 7 p.m.
Right here
on Word Radio, 96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
He was the heart of your family, and he taught you our history. He helped you fix your first flat. He was the best backyard DJ around, and every time he'd tell a story, he'd own the room. But now more than ever, he may feel alone. Today, older adults and their loved ones are struggling to connect, in a time when connection has never been more important. But there is something we can do. Embrace our older loved ones through StoryCorps Connect. With StoryCorps Connect, you can honor seniors remotely with an interview about their life. Every interview will be archived at the Library of Congress, becoming part of American history, so that years from now, future generations can listen in.
All right, Grandpa, what's one piece of advice you have for me?
Just 3 words, sweetheart. Live with courage. The man that had the best stories still has plenty of stories to tell. So connect virtually and share the conversation of a lifetime at StoryCorpsConnect.org/AARP. Connect, honor, share. StoryCorps Connect. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
This is Word Radio. 96.1 FM. And 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. This has been a really good show. I'm feeling the energy and the vibe. We're talking about education. We're talking about voter registration. We're talking about housing. We're talking about health and all as it applies to us as people here in the city of Philadelphia and beyond. It looks like the president of Clinton University, Lester McGorn, Dr. McGorn, was on here while I was talking to Jawan. He said, good job, Jawan. And we have someone else, Pam Shealy, who says, hey, Jawan, we miss you too. You're such an amazing young man. We're so proud to have you as a part of the Clinton College family. You all are doing a fantastic job with him, Ms. Shealy and Dr. McGorn. He exemplifies what is good and right about HBCUs and what you are doing with him. What a great example. And so thank you so much. We've had good conversation all day. We started out with Martin Luther King High School, and now we are working towards having a conversation now to continue the discussion about implicit, explicit bias and how to identify and dismantle policies that support inequities in the school system through the lens of a school board member practicing effective governance. When I tell you, Deborah Keys Wright is someone that I met when I was a school board member and became the Pennsylvania delegate for the National School Board Association. I walked into the room to the conference. I believe it was being held in Boston that year, and there she was with her CUBE members, the African-American school board members, African-American and Latinx school board members, and she fully embraced me, and we became friends after that day. And it is now, that was 2012, woo, 8 years later. I asked Deborah because I knew she knew about school board governance, and because so many people want to run for school board and don't take it seriously, literally do not take it seriously, right? They get on there and, you know, I want this for my children, I want that for my children, don't realize that they have to set proper policies and procedures, don't understand that they're supposed to hire a superintendent that's worthy of being in the position and that they're there to support the superintendent. And she just kept clicking and clicking and clicking. And so she became a monthly correspondent on my radio show, The Source, here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She calls in once a month. And so, Deborah, you have 2 segments, not 1, but 2, right? So we don't have to rush through these conversations because Deborah has on with her today Cinto Ramos Jr., who has led significant change for youth in his professional life and as a school board member by changing policies, yes, Cinto, creating ethnic studies, etc. Cinto Ramos Jr. serves as the Chief of Board Governance and Leadership at Leadership ISD. I'm not sure what ISD is. He is a proven leader on educational policy, racial ethnic equity, and school board governance. Jacinto is the national chair of the 2019-2020 Council of Urban Boards of Education, CUBE, serves on the Texas Association of School Boards, of Directors, as well as the next president of the Mexican American School Boards Association. You better go on, Cintos. Born and raised on the north side of Fort Worth, Texas, Jacinto is it's Jacinto. They have the name written. Okay. Jacinto is a product of immigrant parents from Mexico, devoting countless hours to the cause of providing a voice to the disengaged and the disenchanted youth of today. He is a certified multicultural trainer, a certified juvenile probation officer in the state of Texas, a former co-director of the Multicultural Alliance Camp Community, an affiliate of Courageous Conversations About Race, and part of the inaugural 2019 Accelerating Board Capacity Institute through Harvard Business School. I cannot wait to talk to this person. Bridging the silos of activism, leadership, and community engagement, Jacinto earned a spot on the Fort Worth Independent School District's Board of Trustees in June of 2013. 2 years later, he reached a historic milestone, becoming the youngest board president from Fort Worth. Oh, wow. On May 28, 2019, he was selected by his colleagues to take the lead once again as the chair of the board. He is on track to complete his doctorate in educational leadership and administration in 2020. Cinto will cover briefly the following areas: Board of Education accomplished at Fort Worth School District, and share how, I want to know what ISD is, and share how these practices, policies can be replicated in other districts. Racial and equity, policy resolution of support for immigrant students, families, and staff. Establishment of American Indian Day in 2018. Establishment of Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez Day of Service 2018. Promoted and supported Africana Studies, My Brother's Keeper resolution. You better. Okay, that's it. This is Deborah. Are you there?
Yeah.
You bring the most amazing people on this show. Let me just start there. So, okay, you start. We have time. So instead of just having one segment, I gave you two, so we can take our time and really dissect this. And we're opening up the phone lines for people to call in, 215-634-8065, if you have any thoughts or opinions around what we're getting ready to discuss. So, Deborah, you start, and then is it Cinto? Jacinto, pronounce his name for me, please.
Cinto Ramos.
Cinto.
It is Jacinto, but we call him Cinto Ramos.
Cinto Ramos.
I hope he's on the line, right?
Cinto, are you there?
I am.
You are quite impressive, sir. Quite impressive.
But don't let him start talking yet. Now, hold on. Because I'm only going to say a few words of this brother right here. This is my brother.
Ooh.
He is phenomenal. So I just want to say a few things, Andrea. Jawan Williams.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
I almost forgot to call in because I was so impressed with the interview. I looked at the clock. I'm like, oh, my gosh, let me call in. Phenomenal. And I could just see you glowing as a parent. I have two teens as well.
Yeah.
Just reminds me, just to walk in a room and just require people to give them attention and respect.
Yes.
I just love it.
Yes.
I can appreciate that. I just really appreciate that. And the other interview you had with those students from
Martin Luther King High School, yes.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
Beautiful. And it's so good that you allow there to be student voice.
Yes.
Because that is so important because, of course, with Board of Education and superintendents, these are adults. And we have to ask the students, what do you need from us? So that you will have the best education experience, in that particular school district. And then I heard the alumni folks call in too, and unfortunately saying some of the things that they need that they're not having, and not making any judgments on the Philadelphia school district.
Right.
What I will say is I hope they take their concerns to the Board of Education.
Yes.
Because someone needs to hear, not saying that there is a reason, because there is no reason where there's lack of support of educating children.
Yes.
We have to figure out what do we need to do different.
Yes.
Where do we need to move some funds? That's what looking at things through the equity lens.
Yes.
Do I need to stop doing this for a while so I can help this school or this building or these group of kids, more than this over here? It's not saying take it from one, give to the other. That's not what equity is. Equity is meeting children where they are, giving them what they need at that time.
Yes.
So that is phenomenal. And, of course, bias, stereotypes, all of this prejudice falls under the umbrella of, racial inequalities, inequities that are happening in the public schools all around the country.
Yes.
And so you need folks like Cinto who will be firm and stand up and brave enough to challenge the status quo.
Yes.
And not that it was easy, which he's going to share with you. He definitely has some pushback. I mean, you're going to have, he will tell you about school board meetings where 200, 300, 400 people are there. And not everybody is happy when you're talking about racial equity.
Yes.
And so I don't want to take up too much of his time because he has some phenomenal information to share with the audience, Andrea.
Yes.
So let's Cinto get on the line and share his background and all the great things that he's doing in the Fort Worth Intermediate School District.
Cinto, are you there?
I am.
So good afternoon. Can I ask you this? How long have you been involved in the Board of Education and fighting for racial justice for all students? How old were you when you started doing that?
I was 37 when I was elected in 2013, so on the board 7 years, and fighting for racial justice, I'd say much longer than that. Thank goodness I walked into the space of privilege and power, particularly positional power as a school board trustee, knowing what I was supposed to do with it.
Right. So how did you get involved to the place where you decided to run for school board?
Well, I appreciate that question. The reality is that I never wanted to run for anything. I would sit around on the sideline in my neighborhood and say, look at those politicians. And I would throw stones at them. And in my case, I was a gang interventionist for 12 years in the streets of my community. I was a juvenile probation officer for 21 years and a youth minister in my local Catholic church, All Saints Catholic. And so I was always around young people, and I was also around young people that were the most marginalized in our school systems and in our community. As I tell everyone, I buried too many bodies, and I saw too many young people incarcerated, and they were typically black and brown. But I wasn't lying. I couldn't lie to myself, even if I tried to. I couldn't pretend that what was happening in our society, and even what's personal, local, and immediate, that my neighborhood was at that time one of the top 10 worst zip codes in the whole state of Texas.
Wow.
And so when I found out that the data was the way it was, and I was so angry and frustrated that I started getting involved at the local level, and people started telling me, you're going to run for office, you're going to run for office. And I said, I'm not going to be one of them politicians. And so I refused to wear a suit or any of that. And if you saw me today, I'm wearing a suit with a pocket square, and I got some matching socks. But the reality is that when I was watching what was happening, I talked so much, I ran my mouth so much with young people, that when the opportunity presented itself, young people held me accountable.
Yes.
They said, it's time for you to ante up, Cinto. It's time for you to do something. You're always talking about changing systems, that we're going to change them. You need to get involved. So we ran a campaign that was run by young people, had zero endorsements of the local elected officials. I didn't want anything to do with them, and went against the status quo. And we beat the incumbent in the runoff with 85% of the vote.
Come on. So you had zero. So come on, Cinto. Let me pull back on this one for you. Let me peel the onion on this one, because a lot of people feel that they can't run for office if they don't have endorsements by the local governance, right? Democratic or Republican or independent, whatever. And so you ran without having a single endorsement and won.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And that was a tribute to the young people who, they coined a lot of terms. They coined a lot of sayings. And so you'll hear today, I quote a lot of people, including young people. This one was, their slogan was, it's not about leaving the hood, it's about coming back to the hood. And the reason they said that was because I had moved out for 7 years out of my community. I still stayed there and worshiped there and worked there, but I didn't live there anymore because I believed the hype that to make it out of the hood was to say that I've made it.
Right.
And while I don't want to say that everyone can't move out, what I knew was that as I was involved with my own 3 sons, I wasn't needed in the suburban community. I wasn't needed where I was paying for an HOA payment. I wasn't needed at the local youth ministry. I was needed in my community. The young people noticed when I had left. So because I had moved back just within months before running, they said, we can't, if everybody leaves the neighborhood, then all of the resources leave with you.
Right.
And all of your talents.
Right.
So they ran the campaign from beginning to end. We won. It was a huge celebration, but we also believed, because we believed in the power of one, we believed in the power of people.
Right.
And we knew that we were fed up and we were tired. And the last piece I'll say to that, we wanted to get rid of the poverty pimps in our community. And what I mean by that are the people who are making a middle to upper class living off of the backs of our children and our families and our neighbors, and giving us subpar services.
Yes. And so when you say poverty pimps, because I'm telling you, I think people think that's just a catchphrase. Describe what a poverty pimp is to the average person who is listening, the WRD listener.
Yes, ma'am. So in my neighborhood, I'll speak for what's true for me. In my neighborhood, there was a lot of nonprofit folks, people that would put together a nonprofit to come and provide services. And so as a juvenile probation officer and gang interventionist, I was watching how these services weren't working. So my community is primarily Latinx, primarily of Mexican descent, and a lot of undocumented human beings who are not getting the services. So they would get funding.
Yes.
They would come into our community, and then they would set up shop and make a good chunk of money. So questions that we began to ask as local community folks is like, what is your plan to exit our neighborhood? When will you accomplish? If you're here to prevent or stop teenage pregnancy, what is your plan? What is your 10-year strategic plan to be done? Because anyone that comes in with a business model has to have a plan.
Right.
What we were finding is a lot of people were coming up and applying for monies, and we're getting them from, there was a program called Wheat and Seed back then, that they were getting those monies, and they were designed for prevention and intervention. And the reality was that I think that most of it was being funded for suppression, which is why I think so many young people are conscious and aware of the heavy law enforcement in our school systems and our communities. I'm not against the police if they've been properly trained and they're involved. What I am against is so much money going to suppression and not enough to prevention and intervention.
Cinto, so you said something that struck a nerve, and I'm sure the WRD listeners are going to say the same exact thing. Philadelphia has the ubiquitous, Lord Jesus, we are considered the largest poor city in the country. And we have lots of nonprofits here, lots of, people who are politicians who have run for office or are sitting in seats. And the educational system, as Deborah heard us talk about, in some of the schools, some schools get what they need, some schools do not get what they need. And when you said the poverty pimp, for you, the nonprofits that come in that are getting all this funding with nothing to show for it, a lot of that is happening right here in Philadelphia. Right here in Philadelphia, where they're getting $1.2 million, $3.4 million, to create tangible changes in communities, and we don't see those changes happening. How did you turn that around, or have you?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not even one of the top 10 worst zip codes in my county
anymore.
No, and what it was is we created a systems of accountability, and that's what allowed me to transition from that mindset to a board member. And who's holding the superintendent accountable or not holding them accountable? Because I love talking about the myth of a broken system as it's described in adaptive leadership. That book says that it's a myth because the reality is that when a system is broken, there's enough people in positional power that keep it that way.
That's right. Come on, Cinto.
And who it benefits are the questions we ought to be asking. And so we ask those questions: who's benefiting? Who's connected to who? We just passed a city tax here that is going to continue to fund some of the poverty pimps in our community. But we were advocating against it. What I do know is that we took over our own community and we put ourselves on those local committees and boards and asked the harder questions. And I'll be real with you. I learned it in Philadelphia. When I was leading the Wheat and Seed, I went to Philadelphia to check out the murals and meet community leaders. I met individuals at the street level, and the number one thing I heard from them is, we're doing this for free 99. We're doing it out of our pockets because we're not being funded. And that's where I noticed the systemic problem. Then we need to teach our brothers and sisters how to apply for these monies, how to handle the monies, and how to report the data on those monies. That's a long journey. So the broken system theory was in place. The council members, the commissioners, or whatever titles they wanted to have, they weren't doing enough to empower those individuals to learn how to handle those monies.
Yes.
Because you know what? At the end of the day, they could do the work.
Yes, they can, and they are doing the work, Cinto. They're doing the work, right? But they're largely ignored, and it's so interesting that you said that because not some weeks ago I was saying the same exact thing. Who are we giving the funding to support what's going on in the communities? I've had people on this radio show who are calling in saying that we're doing the community work, but we're getting absolutely no funding, and it is falling on deaf ears. Right now in Philadelphia, at 22nd Street near the Art Museum, is a large encampment of homeless people that have taken over that whole section, right? Because they're saying we need housing. We have 5,000 empty homes here in Philadelphia, and it's being given to developers to develop, and no one's really considering us. We're living in train stations and on grates and under bridges. And so for me, it's the conscience of the leadership. And I keep saying that racism starts not with the ignorant, but with the people who are willfully in denial, right? And who are having their own self-interest served. And so you see the end results of that all around us in all these cities. And so it is time for leadership to step up their game and say, okay, I may have gotten it wrong, because nobody wants to feel like they're outright attacked. I may have gotten this wrong. Let me see what I can do differently. Now, the mayor in this city is saying that he was going to meet with the leaders of the encampment at 22nd Street. But they've done a slew of interviews talking about the issues as they see them, and listen, they're well versed in this. So they're leaders like you, Cinto, all around the country. It seemed to me that the the children, the young people, emboldened you to step up your game, stop talking, and to step up your game. But when you got there, what did you run into? Because I know, because I've sat on the school board for 8 years, I understand what that looks like. And largely, Cinto, when I would walk into the room, they were having a meeting in the back room, I would walk into the room and everybody went deadly silent. You know, they wouldn't tell me things that I should need to know. They handed me the stick thing and said, go through all of this, is what you need to know. And I thought that that it was just me. But when I saw newer board members come on board, they took them in, and, you know, I'll meet with you, I'll do da-da-da-da-da. I got one meeting, was told something like, you know, as a new school board member, you have to make sure that your children are doing what they need to do because everybody's watching them. And my answer to that was, you already looked at my children's records when you knew I won the school board election, and you knew who my children were. So why are we having this conversation? So there's this dialogue that comes along to make you feel like, you know what, we're going to do whatever we can to make you feel uncomfortable. What they failed to realize, Cinto, was that I wasn't there for them. That I was there for setting policy and making sure that every child got what they needed to have. So what did you go through? What did you run into?
I ran into that I was one of the youngest people ever walk in that boardroom, even at that age. And so I was also, by the way, elected and supported by the establishment against someone that they thought was radical and militant. So my mentor, who Deborah Keys Wright knows very well, is a black man named Ricky Clark from Southeast side of Chicago. Ricky, when he saw me running, he had me read. And he had me read a book that's called The Spook Who Sat by the Door. And when I read that book, it gave me the strategy on how to maneuver the political environment I was about to walk in.
What's the name of the book again?
It's called The Spook Who Sat by the Door.
Yes, I have that book.
So I read that book, and I came with the strategy, knowing that I would be one of the few people with the mindset, because if they had the mindset, then the numbers would reflect. The data would have reflected that we wouldn't have the achievement gaps that we did.
Yes.
When I walked into that boardroom, I walked into a multi-generational, multiracial, predominantly white environment, and knew that my colleagues more likely had lost touch of the demographic shift that had taken place. See, the thing is, in Fort Worth, the demographics aren't changing, they have changed.
Yes.
89% children of color, and you'll also notice, I don't say the word minority, because that's what I've been walking around the whole country saying, don't call me a minority. By the way, I'm part of the Mexican-American wave that's scaring the heck out of this country.
Yes.
Right? So when I walked in that boardroom, I had to learn how to help my colleagues adopt new language, update. I would say, quit using the word Caucasian. It's an outdated term that is completely rooted in power. So let's call it what it is. You're a white person.
Yes.
Right? So we started changing. It took 2 years of me listening to my colleagues. I did what's called a power analysis. I got to know them as human beings. I got to hear their stories, their wishes, their dreams, their aspirations. And what I noticed was that the majority of them had nothing but the best of intentions for children in our school system. But what I also found that there was a lot of gaps in between how they looked at policy and how that connected to young people.
Yes. Cinto, hold on 1 second. I have to take a quick station break, and then we'll be back uninterrupted. You are listening to The Source. Why am I losing my voice? 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. If you are hearing the sound of my scratchy and almost non-existent voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Check out the Source lineup on Word Radio. Mondays, get ready for the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith. On Tuesdays, it's Andrea Lawful Sanders. Then on Wednesdays, it's the Black Women's Leadership Council. On Thursdays, it's a second helping of Andrea Lawful Sanders. And on Fridays, it's Tiffany Bacon. Don't miss the Source. Monday through Thursday, 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. and Fridays, 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. Exclusively on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WordRadio.com and on the Word Radio app. Show some love for your favorite neighborhood with Word Radio. It's the Summer of Freedom Virtual Neighborhood Love Tour. Mondays and Thursdays now through August 20th from 1 p.m. till 2:30 p.m. Shining a light on Philadelphia's neighborhoods with a focus on neighborhood history, Philadelphia's freedom fighters, and community resources that are helping to shape the city's future. Mondays with the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith, and Thursdays with Andrea Lawful Sanders. It's the Summer of Freedom Virtual Neighborhood Love Tour. Mondays and Thursdays, 1 p.m. till 2:30 p.m. Exclusively on Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WordRadio.com, the Word Radio app, and on Word TV via YouTube and Facebook. The Summer of Freedom Virtual Neighborhood Love Tour is sponsored by Wells Fargo and Pico. Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
Pico has many ways to help you lower your energy usage and save money at home. Here's one. Have an old working fridge or freezer in your garage or basement? Pico will pick it up, dispose of it responsibly, and give you a $75 rebate. That's right, $75. Plus, you can save as much as $150 a year on your energy bill by getting rid of it. Just schedule your pickup at pico.com/recycling or call 1-888-5-PICO-SAVE today. Be sure your fridge or freezer is plugged in and working at time of pickup.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Leslie, thank you, Leslie. The book is called The Spook Who Sat by the Door, at the Door by Sam Greenlee. My husband said he saw it in the theater decades ago. He and I are going to watch the film together. I am talking to, just a phenomenal school board member from Fort Worth, Texas, Cinto, and I have also Deborah Keys Wright on the line with me, who has worked with board governance for just many, many years. And Cinto and I are talking about how he went from sitting on the sidelines saying that he was not going to become a politician and not join the school board and was not endorsed by anyone, and the young people in the neighborhood helped him, and he won by a large margin. So now he's the spook by the door, right? And in a board that is largely white, made up of was it mostly men, or was it a mixture of men and women?
Mostly women.
Mostly women. Oh, okay. That's an interesting. Okay. At least you had a little bit more time to. That should be interesting. All right. So how did you cross the divide with them so you were able to create such tangible changes? And I want you to tell people what those changes are while you've been in office.
Absolutely. So I'll reference another book. As you can tell, my mentor has me read a lot.
Yes.
So Ricky had me read another book called Leadership and Self-Deception. Mm-hmm. And what it was is that I had to make sure that I stayed true to my style in ministry.
Yes.
To be able to meet, when I meet those individuals,
mm-hmm.
that I see them as assets to be invested in versus problems to be solved.
Mm-hmm.
And also that when I interact with my colleagues, that I see them as people.
Mm-hmm.
And not as objects to be moved.
Right.
Because the objects to be moved is what I think most politicians like
mm-hmm.
to say, is they start counting votes. In our case, what I did is I had to start talking about the social construct of race. And what I did is I did it in a non-threatening manner that I would give them articles to read, videos to watch. But really, I was just saying, look, at the end of the day, this is a social construct, and we're all being duped, including you that are white. And the reality is that our black children are at the bottom, our brown children in the middle, and our white children are on top. Even though we only have 11% white, they're the ones that are doing the AP test and big universities. So that began, but because I earned the right to be heard, and I built a relationship with them, they were willing to hear it. And what happened is I had to partner with the only black woman on my board, Mrs. Christine C.C. Moss, and she took me under her wing. And when she took me under her wings, that's when she took me to YouTube, and that's when I met Deborah Keys Wright.
Yes.
And then the network just got national. But the reality is, and then I had to have ideas. Young people, I need to have receipts.
Yes.
Show me the receipts of what you're doing, because we got you elected, so show us on what you got going. So what we did is we knew we had to pass a racial and ethnic equity policy, and I say we being Mrs. Moss and I. And so when we started working with the board and convincing them that the data was showing us that we needed to do something extreme, that was the goal. And that's when Deborah and I teamed up, and she got me examples of policies, and we're able to get that. But passing that policy would not have been done just by the board. We had to work the community.
Yes.
So we brought in a committee of community members that still exists, composed of students that are part of the My Brother's Keeper, My Sister's Keeper, composed of parents, of educators, superintendent, and board members and administrators. And we began to have what we call the courageous conversations about race. And it was evident. When a young person spoke, it was evident that they were in pain and that they were hurting. And that made it hard for anyone who was wanting to say, well, I'm for the kids. Well, then you got to pass this policy. Because you're hearing it straight from their mouth. And that was what began everything else. We knew that we had to have an umbrella of a policy that we could fit everything under.
What is the policy called again, Cinto?
It's the racial and ethnic equity policy.
And ethnic. I love it. Racial, ethnic equity policy.
Ethnic is key because race is a social construct, and ethnicity relates to culture.
Yes.
And we have so many cultures that we need to adhere to.
Yes, yes. The racial and ethnic equity policy. And then someone else is asking, what's the name of the second book that you mentioned?
It's called Leadership and Self-Deception by the Arbinger Institute.
Leadership and Self-Deception?
Yes.
Wow. I need to get that book. Leadership and Self-Deception by whom?
By the Arbinger Institute.
Arbinger Institute. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to read this book. Okay, because there are school board members watching now on WURD radio and want to know. And so that this is good stuff. So you ran into, how did you overcome the challenges to get to the place where you are today? And what advice do you have for school board members who are sitting now in their position? For example, right here in Pennsylvania, there are school boards where the students have shown up in front of them, given them example after example, and what they've done is said to the students, we'll create an ad hoc committee to look at this issue. I just lost, I have no microphone. Oh, I don't know why I lost my microphone. Well, that's interesting. Can you hear me, Cynthia?
I can, yes.
Nope.
You said no?
No, I'm not hearing anybody.
You're talking.
I am talking, but no, there's nothing. My microphone is dead.
Can hear you.
All right. Cynthia, can you hear me? All right, so I somehow have lost Cynthia and Deborah. But I was saying to Cynthia that, you know, they put an ad hoc committee together and nothing comes of it. Nothing comes of it. So, you know, when they already know, these adults are very clear. They have had instance after instance, data after data. This one particular school district is literally, you can hear me, but I can't hear myself, and I don't think I can hear Deborah and Cynthia. School district after school district, they've had so much, they've been even sued. This particular school district has even been sued at the, got it. Just got it. At the federal case, at the federal level, and are still telling the children we have to have an ad hoc committee to look into the issues that you're saying to us. We want to make sure that you actually know what you're doing, black children. We want to make sure that you know, when you get into these honors and advanced placement classes, that you don't need too much support, because then that'll hold back our children. Are you hearing me, Cynthia?
Yes.
And so this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. So the children have presented, the children have gone, or the children will go to them and say, we need to, you know, they're protesting loudly and publicly, and they're getting calls from their principals and their superintendents telling them, you have to be quiet. This is a private matter. Bring it back in. This is what do you have to say about leadership who has gotten so comfortable in their denial and self-interest for some children, not all children? What do you say to leadership like that, Synthos? What advice do you have for them?
So the advice I'm going to have, I'm going to root in two words. There's politics and then there's politrick. So politics, I don't shy away from the word politics or political or politician anymore because I looked at what it really means for me. So I'll put it into this context. I am not only of Mexican descent, I'm of the Purupecha indigenous people in the mountains deep south of Mexico. When I knew my history from a point of liberation, my mind changed. That allowed me to interact with people differently. So that's the reason why we push for the African Africana. We wanted black children to learn their history from a point of liberation, from a point of enslavement. And so I myself had to go on my own journey. And the quick version is that my people were never conquered by the Aztecs, i.e. who we really call the Mexicas, where the term Chicano and Chicano came from. So when I learned that we were never conquered by them and the only ones, I asked, so how did we beat them up or how do we take them down? The reality is that my people, we negotiated with them.
Yes.
And when we're the only ones that were able to negotiate. So when somebody says you ought to run for school board, I said, well, I'm not a politician, but maybe it is in my blood and my DNA to negotiate.
Yes.
So that's the politics, where I had to learn what was moving each one of my colleagues and find a way to frame my message around how they perceive the world. The other part, the politics, is what I think some individuals tend to do is they try to trick people into doing what they want, and that's the book. I was seeing people as people to be invested in, to where other people were seeing my colleagues as objects to be moved, votes to be counted. This was a 2-year process for me to build relationships with my colleagues in a very red, Republican-rooted community that was not wanting to change, but because they found I'm going to be honest, I'm a lighter-skinned brown man. I don't think that a darker-skinned black person may have had the similar success without having invested much more time. So I was well-versed in skin privilege and privilege in general, heterosexual privilege. I was acknowledging the power that society was granting me, and I was using it, but I was locking arms in solidarity with Mrs. Christine C.C. Moss and other leaders in the community. And the most important thing that we did is we raised young people's voices. They were already having a lot to say. Nobody had really just created a platform for them to do that.
Right. Wow. So what advice do you have for the students themselves who have been knocking on the door and not being able they're not being let in? What advice do you have for them?
I'm going to go with another one of my lines from my mentor. It says, you can't love the fruit if you don't love the roots. So if they don't love themselves enough because they don't know who they are, where they came from, who their God is, then they're going to continue to struggle. And I think that education is more than reading, writing, and arithmetic. It must also teach them who they are and whose they are. The whose changes and varies. So what I get to see is when young people are rooted, get connected to their heritage, their native lands, and their God, whoever they choose that to be, they tend to function a lot better because when they know their own truth, they're less offended by somebody else's truth.
Yes.
They have the most powerful voice in the system. And I've seen time and time again how adults try to silence them. In Fort Worth, that has been the main priority, to not let young people be silent.
Yes. Wow. I am honored to have this discussion with you. You're another one of those people that I'd like to meet when COVID is over and done with. But maybe we can do it via Zoom call. Deborah, can you make that happen?
I sure can.
Yes, you can. This has been, I'm taking notes. So I learned about the Aztecs and about your people because I grew up in Jamaica, Syntho. And so everything you said was absolutely correct. That your people are straight negotiators. I come from a people who are warriors, right? We'll negotiate with you up to a certain point and then it's a wrap.
That's real.
So, when you know your history and you know what your background is and what you stand on, then you're absolutely right. You walk with a sense of presence that no one can take away from you because you know who you are and whose you are, right? What's next for, there are school board members that are listening. There are superintendents that are listening, right? That have made excuses after excuses as it applies to our children and changing the policies and creating African and Africana history that is mandatory for all children, not just an elective. They're coming up with all sorts of different excuses. But I'm learning something from you today, the art of really negotiating and meeting people where they are. So thank you so much. Thank you. To those who are listening, how can people reach out to you and to Deborah, Cinto?
I'm available on social media, probably the easiest way to get hold of me without reading long emails. So my Twitter handle is @JA_Ramos_Jr. And on Facebook, I'm under Cinto Ramos. So yeah, my name is Jacinto Ramos Jr. But if you call me Jacinto in my neighborhood, they'll look for my dad. So
Cinto Ramos, okay.
And family calls me Cinto, so by all means, please call me Cinto.
Okay, Cinto, okay. So that's on Facebook, you're Cinto Ramos?
Yes.
Okay, and is there a junior next to it on Facebook?
Not on Facebook.
Okay, Cinto Ramos. I'm going to find you. I'm absolutely going to find you. Deborah will connect us. I can't thank you enough for what is a riveting conversation that we could continue to have. You exemplify, sir, what is possible in the face of all sorts of obstacles. And you did it brilliantly, with humility and with grace. Deborah, I can't thank you enough. I don't know who you're going to bring next, honey, because these people are just, his name is Cinto, Cinto Ramos, Ramos. Somebody else is getting ready to find you. She's a school board president in a local school district here in Pennsylvania, Cinto. So people are listening, and they want to know what is different and what it requires to step into leadership to get this kind of work done on behalf of the people. People are not objects to be moved. I love that. Right? They're never to be. You're awesome. You're absolutely awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you for being a willing vessel to teach what you already know. Deborah, I cannot thank you enough for this. Okay?
Well, Andrea, it's not how much you know, it's who you know.
You better come on now. You know.
Phenomenal people.
I'm
trying to say I know it all, but I know who knows some more.
Yes, you do, because you've been doing this board governance work for a long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I cannot thank you enough for being a willing vessel to continue to have these conversations monthly.
My pleasure.
Yeah. You guys have a wonderful afternoon. Okay.
You too.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Woo, these interviews were thank you. So let me tell you, Brianna is now in the studio with me as my producer. So she's my technical producer and my content producer, and it has helped tremendously because she and I are working hand in hand and tangent with what needs to be done here. She completely understands what I need to do and the kind of guests that I'm looking for as we move this platform. On this show, The Source, this particular show on Tuesdays and Thursdays, education is the largest platform here because I believe without education we are doomed to failure, right? And that we have to get out of the self-centered leadership that we see happening all around us, and we have to make tangible changes on behalf of the children that are with us and coming behind us and the people that are in front of us. We have to be better, right? So that's where we are. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. Cinto's name is Cinto. Last name Ramos, Ramos. That's how you're going to find him on Facebook. I'll put it in the thing when we go to break. We'll be right back after these messages.
These are unprecedented times, challenging how the YMCA works to strengthen community as we have for nearly 170 years. But we've always found ways to help people and communities in times of crisis. Right now, Ys across the country are providing emergency childcare, shelter, food programs, and outreach to seniors. But we can't do it alone. Whether you're connected to the Y or have a fond Y memory, we need you to stay with us. Reach out to your local Y today and stay with us for a better us.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity. Local 332, Sam Staton Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staton, Executive Director of LESIT.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
The coronavirus continues to affect us all, and AARP is here in Philadelphia, actively supporting you and your community. Every day, they're providing trusted information from experts, working to protect people from fraud, supporting family caregivers, and making it easier for neighbors to help neighbors through the new AARP Community Connections website. Learn what AARP is doing to connect and support our community during this unprecedented time. We may be apart, but we're not alone. Click to connect at aarp.org/near you.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. We've had quite a show. Oh, my goodness. Woo. I thank you, Brianna. Just thank you so much. We, began with Martin Luther King High School, talked to some of the students there and what's happening in the system, how to get them the resources that they need. We had Senator Art Haywood on, who talked about, mail-in ballots that can happen today. Votes.pa, voter registration and the mail-in ballot campaign. We talked to Deborah Keys-Wright and Cinto, who is at the Fort Worth School Board Governance, just doing amazing things there. And he talked about real leadership, right? About reaching people where they are. We talked about the Parkway Homeless Encampment that I talked about at the very beginning of the show. We talked to Jawan Williams. Oh, my Lord, that young man was just amazing about HBCUs and how important that is to him, and the fact that he's missing so much now. And he named all the warriors, the men, the black men that have stood in the gap to mentor him and to carry him forward, and he was not ashamed to talk about that. We talked to Joanne McFall from Keystone, who talked about all the services that they're offering. It was just such a good show, and we're coming to the end of it. Let me talk to Cisco and then Woody. Cisco, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you, my sister?
I'm good.
How are you?
I'm good.
All is well. I'm not going to be long. I just want to check in and just get a report about how we're speaking about the schools.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just trying to stay strictly on board and on guard to where it's like about our youth.
Mm-hmm.
And not just from 7 years old, all the way to 80 years old. I just pray to God that we, as a people, we can just get it together because, look, people can't even sit outside on their own steps, on their own porches and everything because our youth, I'm talking about youth, like 8 years old, 9 years old and everything because, their parents disrespect other parents and everything, and I just pray to God we can get some unity somewhere together because, look, some way, somehow, we are completely falling apart. We curse one another, we disrespect one another, and if we say anything to this person, say anything to that person, we bust your windows out, we flatten your tires, we just do things against one another. But look, please, let us get some unity somewhere together as a people.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good to do things right and good, but we got to unify together.
Okay, so Cisco, let me ask you this: what have you done? What can you offer? What advice can you offer to move towards unity for us as a people?
As we continually do, as before the pandemic came up and everything, we feed people every week, And then there are those and everything who say, I don't eat this, I don't want this, I don't want this. But look, but we try to give you this, try to give you that. Like we say the word like that we're one of the poorest, largest, big cities in the country. I mean, in the city. I mean, in the country. But look, but you can buy Lucy's and everything for 75 cents, a dollar, and you can buy this, you can buy that and everything. But yet and still, but you're hungry. Something's wrong. I mean, look, but you can purchase what you want to purchase. But yet and still, but you want me to give you some clothes to put on your back when it's wintertime,
right?
And you want me to give you a place to stay. But look, some things you got to get off your ambition. Go out and get it yourself. Now, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, I'll help you. After that, now look, show me something. Do something for yourself.
Agreed.
Come on now, look. Let's be real now. Look, we didn't get this way. Look, everybody's not going to have no prime rib or no lobster tail, but look, at least we got a Vienna sausage, you got something to take the knot out your stomach.
Yes.
But you are trying to do this, you're trying to do that, but look, just live and let live and stop condemning and stop robbing. Look, you can't even walk down the street unless, look, you got 7-year-old, 8-year-old kids and everything rob you right to the day. And look, look, so help me God, in Jesus Christ's precious name, please let me say this, I'm going to leave. 21st and Dolphins, help me God, Jesus Christ, 21st and Susquehanna. The other couple, beautiful gray hair and everything. This back in the 90s. Kids throwing rocks. I mean, if you want to call them rocks, you want to call them stones. And I'm on the way for the 33 bucks. And I chased them down the street, the 100 block. That's the maddest man in town, Michael and Solomon. Look, you only got about 3 or 4 blocks, 3 houses in the block. Yo, but we got this. These little 7 or 8-year-old kids were throwing stones at elders, waiting for the bus. Now, that's not no Ku Klux Klans. That's not no doggone skinheads. That is nobody but young black children. The God, the God, I pray to God we can get together and get united. Because look, we need help.
Yeah.
To God be the glory. Look, you, the station, and the entire family. Have a God bless day.
All right. Thank you so much, Cintos. All right, Woody.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's kind of hard to have a good day after that one. But I'm going to say the gentleman Cento was right on point. All of your guests today were just outstanding, Andrea.
Thank you.
And I really enjoyed it. I see you learning along the way.
Yes, I am.
My message to you is when you do interview those people out there in the park, I want you to remember that probably 99.9% of them are not able to read.
Yes.
And as I shared with you before, I heard you talk about the Jamaicans, I heard him talk about the Mexicans and so forth and so on. Everybody has an identification, they have an ID on them. The children of those former slaves for 400 years, when they were brought over here, the mothers went one way, the children went the other way, the cousins, the fathers. You didn't know who you were when you finally reached there. That has to have some type of mental problem connected to it that spreads throughout all these hundreds of years. And it's now a known fact that this trauma is called epigenetics. It's not something we guess on or look around to now. The doctor that I shared with you, Dr. Avery August out of Cornell University, discovered this. It didn't take a doctorate degree for some of the elders that I know to be able to identify that. These children that are out there and all of the problems that are happening are usually having to do with where they are in education. So I would love to see you check this out. I'm watching what you're doing. But what we're going to have to do is put together a program, and I talked earlier about the free library. It's an open door for them to identify illiteracy in this country. Philadelphia being #1 in poverty. I think this is a great place to start. Poverty directly connected itself to how you were educated. That's what makes you impoverished. If you don't have the education, you can't get the job, you can't fill out the application, and you don't know who you are.
Okay, so Woody, let me do my motherly thing and say this to you.
Yes, ma'am.
There were people out there in the Parkway, and we had I think Gary from Southwest called in and completely codified this, who were electrical engineers that ran into a bad situation, right?
That's right.
Not everybody that's on that Parkway are not able to read. They've just had really bad life breaks, and things happen where they ended up, homeless, and it could happen to any one of us. All of us have such a thing going on.
Our public school system, Andrea, I didn't mean to cut you off, is designed not to allow the slave to read.
Yeah.
this is an issue that can't go away because of that 400 years of keeping you from reading. I graduated Barrett Junior High School. They've even changed the name of the school because they're gentrifying neighborhoods. They don't want you to remember anything that was good, like certain people. That's all they talk about is everything that's bad. We have to start identifying some of the good that's going on. And I understand that those homeless people are out there who couldn't make it. They had a bad time. But you go and do your own statistical analysis.
I am.
You're not number one in poverty for nothing in this city.
You got that right.
And I'm just telling you, the educational structure, just ask every school district, are they the same? Are we all treated the same?
Were you listening when we talked to the students from Martin Luther King High School?
I heard that.
Yes, yes. And you see that they're needing resources and teachers, 10,000 square foot of empty space. They went from 3,000 students to 700 students. And the one teacher that I was talking to, Angela Crawford, said it has become the dumping ground for the special ed students. So 40% of their 700 students are special ed. That's unconscionable. Right? Because it requires so much to teach a child that has special needs. And I've seen it firsthand. So the average school will have 7, 8, maybe 10, 15%, 40%. That's almost half the population. So what are we missing here? You're absolutely right, though, Woody. We've got to do some work. But I want us to move from talking to what are we doing individually and collectively to get to where we need to? Because we see what happens. You don't have to have $1 million to become educated, right? And there's so much at our fingertips right now. There are ways for you to learn how to read. The Google is a beautiful thing, I tell people all the time. It's denial and self-interest, right? To keep us in a place where we don't need to be or where we don't want to be. But we have to take some responsibility too about ourselves and our lives to get to where we need to be. We can't just keep saying they're not giving it to us because there's too much at our fingertips right now to get what we need. So it's both and. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Exactly what you're saying, but I'm still saying to you that when you have a system that's working toward the majority that are not being able to read, it has something to do with your educational structure.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying.
I heard exactly what you said. And again, as I said, you being from your country, me being from here, you're the immigrant, I'm the non-immigrant. Non-immigrants have a different story to tell.
Yeah.
It has never been told yet. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about here at this barbershop. We were bringing in the voting machines before the COVID, showing people how to vote. Yet they changed the structure of how to vote. You can no longer do a straight ticket. So I bought the machines in the barbershop and told the people I was teaching them right here in the shop.
Yeah.
And then after they heard about that, all of a sudden the machines were gone. I couldn't get them back.
Yeah.
So we were teaching people how to vote. Now you got to do the mail thing.
Right. So, as they adapt, as they adjust, we adapt, right? The show has to end because I'm now at 56 past the hour. And so you are my last caller, Woody. Thank you so much, as usual, for being a presence here, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, that was an excellent rendition of The Source. I love the guests. We are now going to have, on Thursday, we will have our virtual Summer of Freedom virtual community tour that is brought to you by PICO and Wells Fargo. I am so looking forward to it. We are going to have Cobbs Creek that will be identified on Thursday. We're going to have people call in. We want to, if you are a resident of Cobbs Creek, please call in and talk to me and tell me all that is good and wonderful and viable about your community, your neighborhood. Coming up next is Sincerely Sarita with Lord. Happy Hour. Lord, I just went completely blank. My baby, Sincerely Sarita with Happy Hour. You are listening to The Source. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you.
Sharper than a razor, eyes made of lasers, bolder than the truth. They won't be
That's the one.